shoes last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Aslı.
Oi, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh, you wanna get sued?
Judgment, Aslı.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running.
Sorry for what?
But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and it's so good to see all of you tonight. I see Mandy Moo, Lori. We have two Loris, just spelled differently. Microdot, Star, good to see you. Good to see you, Ann Reynolds. And we have Borna Honey, Pickle Me Elmo. Let's see here. Melanie LeBlanc, Anita Wilkinson. And Canadian True Crime 2024, good to see you. Shadow, hey Shadow. Hope Floats, good to see you. Hey Freebirds. And we got Brandy and Indy. Meow, meow, so nice to see you. Tony, I know I come on too late for you, Tony. Good to see you, Detroit Rock City. Wow, we have everybody in here tonight. Thank you for the green hearts, guys. That's wonderful. Hey Margaret, good to see you. And then I hope I didn't miss anybody. I think I got everybody though. Tonight was really sad, guys. I don't know how you all took it. I saw some of you in the chat, and I know it's hard because it was slowed down a lot because there was about 3,000 people in there tonight. So that was really nice to see. Hey, Kloops, good to see you, Kloops. Napanudge Father, good to see you. Oh, we have Shanna in here. Thanks for being here, Shanna. Woman's Warrior, thank you so much for being here. So, yeah, guys, we are just going to go over that interview, and it took me a little while to load in. Hey, GA64. Hey, Show Poodles. Good to see you. Yeah, so it is going to be sad, but we'll talk through it. You know, I upload about 5-minute clips, 6-minute clips. So, hey, little Miss Sharon, good to see you. But there was some good information in there, and then there was also some information that was corroborated, I guess we could say, right? So we saw what Katie and Chris put out, and then now we get to see what Seth is putting out for Sebastian for a year that he's been missing. And of course, you know, we all say that people don't disappear or people don't just vanish. So something happened to him. He is somewhere. And, you know, I just want to be mindful of that tonight, because that is one message that I do remember Seth trying to send. I know it's difficult, and I don't even know how difficult it is, but I know it's difficult. And I think it's just something that, you know, he just wants it to be kind of not hate-filled, but more love-filled is kind of the takeaway that I got. And I don't know, you all can let me know in the comments what you think, but I think that he really would like to see, you know, the outpouring of love rather than us saying bad things about one parent or another. And I think that's a really smart approach. And I think it's something that, you know, we all should consider, because we do represent Sebastian. We are Sebastian's army. So I think that we need to consider that, and I will too. One thing that was the same was about Sebastian's mustache. So I thought that was really cute. You guys will see that later. We also learned just, just little things about him, like the fact that he really liked to be warm, and things like that, and cozy. So, and a lot of us are like that. So, and couponing, good to see you, couponing. She says, "Hey, Lady Freedom and Sleuthers." Thank you so much, couponing. Um, Star says, I really think he wants us to focus on Sebastian, but he did say the interview made him sick, if I heard correctly. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, it would. And I think it also brought some sadness because, as we all know, um, when we divorce or when we even break up with a person, just newly, hey, Donna, um, you know, they weren't the person that we thought they were, but then sometimes it'll be years later, and especially those of us who have children, it's really amazing where you're like, oh my gosh, like this was the person, but they weren't like that when I was with them. So I think I kind of took that away too. More maybe like disappointment, sadness that Katie didn't come out and maybe go to bat for Sebastian, the way that we all thought she should have. And even I can get carried away sometimes with, just outrage, I guess. I get mad, and I'm like, oh no, but it's always good to look at it as more of, from a critical thinking standpoint. And I know our R Taylor in here loves to say that with the critical thinking because it's important, I think. And if we don't, then we're leaving things out. So it's important to do that. But let's watch the first clip, and we'll get right into it here.
Hey, Sebastian's Army, how's everybody doing this evening? As always, we can't tell you how grateful we are for you guys stopping by and joining Seth tonight, and just ask that you guys keep him in your prayers. As you guys can imagine, this has been, probably the worst second or third days of his life, the last couple of days. You can probably see it on his face. It's hadn't had a lot of sleep. Things have been tough on him. So just keep him in your prayers. And again, from both of us and everybody that supports Sebastian, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. And we'll turn it over to Mr. Rogers.
I'd like to say thank you to everybody in chat. Thank you for my mods. Thank you for Sebastian's Army. Thank you, everybody, for the prayers that still continue to come in. We are continuing to look for Sebastian. We are continuing to trace down every lead that comes in, turn over every rock, go down every rabbit hole. We will find him. That is my only goal. And I appreciate everybody that's there with me on this goal of finding my son and bringing him home. It's been a very trying year. I know a lot of y'all I've seen in chat, you guys are not happy with some of the interviews that are going on, but there are people out there that are obstacles, and that's it. They're just obstacles. Giving them any type of validation is not worth Sebastian's time. And I appreciate everybody that does debunk everything that they sit there and come out with. It's trying, very trying. Nobody really wants to sit there and understand what's going through my mind every day. It's when I do sleep, Sebastian's there. And when I wake up, he's not. You know, some people have been sitting there going that they hope that Sebastian haunts his mother. I'm not. I'm not into that because I had nothing to do with his disappearance. And every time I close my eyes, he's there. I wake up having conversations with him. I relive every moment that I spent with him. Every time I go to sleep. The fact is that whoever has him, if you're watching this, if you're seeing this, please just drop him off somewhere where there's a phone where he can go in and tell him, please, my name is Sebastian Rogers. I need you to call 911. It's the only thing. It's the only thing I care about is finding my son and bringing him home.
Take a deep breath, buddy.
I do have a special guest this evening. Some of you in chat have already guessed who it is. I'd like to bring up Jennifer Coffin-Daffin.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Jen.
Hi, Tony. Hi, Seth.
Hello, Miss Jen.
You know, this is so, I can't even relate. And I know everybody in the audience that hasn't lost a child. And I know there's many in this audience that have lost a child. We can't imagine what you're going through, but we can see it, Seth, and all of us are going to continue to use our platforms to bring Sebastian front and center, and to hopefully someday he'll be found, and your pain, your pain will go away.
You know, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and, he disappeared at 15. He's now 16, and it's like time stops. Time just stops. And if I found him tomorrow, it's trying to pack everything that I have missed doing for him, for the last year, and then just playing catch up. Like, disappears at 15. He's 16 now. I haven't even taught him how to shave. When he would watch me in the bathroom when I shaved, and he was starting to grow a mustache, and he just didn't like it. He was like, I don't like my mustache. And it's like, well, I like mine. If you shave it, it's going to grow in thicker.
Okay, guys, that made me laugh that Seth said he likes his mustache. But Sebastian did not like his mustache. And we did hear that from Katie. She said that, hey, Machete, she even said, that he didn't like it. And then they were trying to explain to him, if you do take the mustache off, it's going to come back, worse, and things like that. Some people have more facial hair than others. Hey, Tanya, good to see you. Yeah, it is. It's a very hard to listen to. It is. Hey, I am Two Bear. Good to see you. But it is hard to listen to, but I thought it was also really cute that he said that about his mustache, and that Sebastian didn't like his, because those are things that you would expect for a father and a son to do together, right? I guess that maybe is why it kind of fell short with Katie a little bit, for me, because those are some activities that we associate like father and son doing, just like we would teach our daughters how to shave their legs, things like that. And so Seth said that he's not sleeping very well, but he really appreciates the support, the prayers, and also he said that they're looking for Sebastian everywhere. They're following down every rabbit hole. just anywhere that they can, anything they can do and anywhere they can look, they are doing it still. And I believe them when they say that, because Seth does have some private eyes that he's working with. He also has search and rescue teams that he's been working with. So that's fantastic. And just, that's going back to all the love and support, Sebastian's Army, people doing things for a good cause together, working towards a common cause. And so he does say that they exhaust every option by going down every rabbit hole they can. And then also he says that it's been a trying year. He said that he sees that the chat wasn't really happy with some of the interviews. And of course, I think he's referring to like what SF is putting out there, right? Because we all know that Sheriff Craddock has come out and said that this is not something that needs to be looked at further, but then they're looking at it further and they're treating it as if it's some kind of major piece that it's not, right? So it's not even anything at all, according to Sheriff Craddock. I didn't come up with that on my own, guys. And I think I also have it if you guys want to see his statement. I don't think I deleted it out, but either way, he said that there are people out there that are creating obstacles, and in my opinion they're doing it deliberately, and I can sense the frustration. It is never ending. In this case, if you get too far into it, there's just going to be people that do that. And the great thing that he said, which is wonderful, in my opinion, that he said that they're not worth Sebastian's time. So they're not worth any of our time, really. We shouldn't give them any effort or energy, because if we do give them, hey, September Virgo, thank you so much. If we do give them any time or energy, then we're taking away from Sebastian, and he, it's not worth his time even, right? It's not worth the time it's taking away from him. And it's not fair to him, and we have to just remember that he's who's important. Thank you, September Virgo. She says, hey, beautiful, I'm doing paperwork, but I'm listening. Praying for Seth and Sebastian. Thank you so much. Thank you. That means the world to me. And, I think that is one of the better takeaway messages tonight. Don't let other people who are really just making things up to get in the way, right? That's what an obstacle is. It's something that gets in our way, but that doesn't mean that we can't overcome it. That doesn't mean that we can't jump over it or go under it or left or right of it, whatever. But we do that, right, all the time in life. And I think it's really important to just stay the course, right? And if an obstacle does come in our way, just think of it as not worth Sebastian's time. Like any of that hate stuff, that's not worth Sebastian's time. And maybe to make it easier to remember it, because I know it's hard. I understand there's a lot of drama out there. There's a lot of crap going on all the time. And it's just not right for any of the missing, because there are so many people that are missing out there that we could be talking about rather than talking about drama or, things that don't matter. So, and those people are also attention seekers, right? So they're trying to draw attention away from Sebastian, who's important, onto themselves. And that's, again, not worth his time. And he also says that he's upset about what people are coming out with. And again, I think that has a lot to do with what SF has put out here, because it is drawing attention away from what we should be looking at. There are so many things in this case right now that we should be looking at and paying attention to, in my opinion. I did send off the photos and then the video that I slowed way down, like even more than dog slowed it down. I slowed it down. And you can see an image come into play that does look like Sebastian. Now, I don't know, because Hindsight 2020 put out a video, so it's very up in the air for me right now. So I don't really even have a good grasp on whether the photos were taken inside the restaurant or if they were taken outside of the restaurant, if it was a video or if it was something that was sent over to this guy who took the photo. I'm not sure about any of those details. But nevertheless, that is something that I think we should be focusing more on than a poorly enhanced shadow person wandering around, in the neighborhood at 12:17 a.m. That's just my opinion on that, and I think he was frustrated about it. I could be wrong. So he also says that, and this is heartbreaking, guys. He says that whenever he does sleep, he does see Sebastian in his dreams, replaying their memories that they had, and when he wakes up, he's not there anymore. I mean, I don't know even what to say. I mean, even like when Jen comes up, she's the special guest for the show, and she just says that she can't relate to that. And some of you out there do know that pain. And hey, Carol, love it, good to see you. Some of you guys do know that pain, and I'm just so sorry that you've ever had to deal with that, because I can't imagine dealing with the loss of my child. I just couldn't do that. And I just see a lot of strength in the people, encourage that do that, and then they also advocate for their children. They get their story out there, and they do right by what their children need, and especially when it's a 15-year-old who went missing this whole year. In between that time, he turned 16 years old, so he is 16 now, and I mean, it's just a totally different situation when it's a child, in my opinion. So he is, of course, always, and this is one thing that I have to say across the board, anytime I've ever watched anything that Seth has to say, it is always finding and bringing his son home. It is never about himself. Of course, we all want to know how people are doing, because that's what we all ask people when we see them. How you doing? Are you okay? I heard last time you were going through this, or maybe I heard your son or daughter graduated, or something good, something bad. But we all want to know how each other are. It's just good human nature. Either way, Jacob joins. And she says that her heart goes out to Seth, and Seth is saying how he feels like time has stopped, and that whenever he is able to be back with Sebastian, that he says that he'll be playing a lot of catch up with the things that they like to do, right? And I think even if we haven't been in the position where we've lost a child, I think that if we have the emotional intelligence, the compassion, the care, the support that we, would like to give of ourselves to another person, and that's a big thing, is giving, being of service to others, in my opinion. And yeah, I think that all of us can relate to that. We can feel that pain, especially from Seth. And that's why I think this interview for me was a lot more emotional than watching Katie and Chris, And so, hi, Carolina, good to see you. I have trouble in chats too. I'll say like one word and it'll send it for some reason, Carolina. That's okay. Thank you so much. Napanoch Father says, I'm 33 years old, so I have heard some sayings in my lifetime, but who has ever heard anyone say I would bulldoze you with hugs? Yeah, very strange wording. I agree with that. I did think that was very strange, and kind of more, I don't know, again, just as a mom, I think I wouldn't say things. I'm a lot more smushy. I'm sure you guys know that by now. But I just would be more, I don't know, more loving maybe. I don't. Hey, Susan, good to see you. Hey, Tony Fire, good to see you. Good to see everyone coming in. And Detroit Rock City says, I know the feeling, but I know where my son is, and Seth doesn't, and I can't imagine how that feels not knowing. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Detroit Rock City, that was really well said. That's the thing, he doesn't know where he is, and he's just trying to figure out anything that could have possibly happened. And I think that's how any parent would be, right? You would just be trying to think of anything, right? Where could they be? What could have happened? Um, even considering things probably that you maybe wouldn't typically consider. It just comes with that, and I can understand. Um, yeah, I can totally understand what you're saying. Yeah, it is just an odd thing to hear somebody say Napanoch father. I agree. I agree. It is. Shadow says the news should have interviewed Seth too. He's the father, not Chris. I think they might have done a little clip one. I saw something on it, and I wasn't sure if it was an old clip that they reused or if they re-interviewed him. I'm not sure. Um, Little Miss Sharon says we can all see the hate channels do not have emotional intelligence and no empathy. I know, right? That's kind of who I was talking about. Little Miss Sharon. Yeah, I was, because you know, I don't go and watch, but I hear things, like a little birdie flies over and tells me that some of the stuff is, pretty vile that's going on tonight after this. And, I tried to just be an objective third party person, kind of like what you all are saying in chat. Like, just certain things are weird. The wording, the way that the Proud Fee are acting is weird to me. But with that being said, I was trying not to completely wipe the floor with Katie or anything like that. So I think they can try to do that with Seth. It would just be nice of them. But I know that takes emotional, intelligence to do that. So yeah. Love Horses says, that's what I thought too. Hey Sherry, good to see you. And Anita Wilkinson says, question, and it's just speculation. Does anyone think SF knows something off with the Foots? That's a really good question. I think, Anita, I think that's a really good question for us all to kind of wonder about. Yeah, I do. I do think so. I think he listens to the money. He knows he's going to make money off of it. So it doesn't matter about what happened or where Sebastian is to him. It's just all publicity for the next time, for the next kid. I mean, that's my understanding of it. Napanoch father says they really pulled at our heartstrings with that start of the video, though, with Sebastian with the green tea. I know, he's so cute, isn't he? Like, the green tea video is like, it shows who Sebastian is as a person, because Seth was talking about that tonight. Just talking about the fact that, or actually, I think maybe it was one of the other panelists, maybe it was Tony or Jake Hoff, but what they were saying is that it's surprising the outpouring of support and so many people interested in finding Sebastian and things like that. And people were writing in the chat, kind of what their thoughts were. And I think a lot of it has to do with the green tea. Like, when we saw the green tea video, it kind of showed us his personality, his humor. Whenever Seth was saying that he would go to the school resource officer and ask how many tickets he was going to give out and stuff like that. Those things are just, little bits of information that we learn about somebody and we're like, hey, I could hang out with that kid. He's cool, sort of a thing. So, I think that's a big reason why. And I think that's another reason why it's so important for parents to come out and talk about their kids when they're missing, because it does pull at our heartstrings, and it makes us realize that, like, we can't let this little person be out there. Or, if it's a little girl, it doesn't matter to me who it is. If it's a kid, it's a kid, right? And so, you know, I think that helps though, because sometimes people might overlook it, but if they can get to know who that person was, then it can make you care more. Um, yeah, Hope Floats. I agree with that too. The lawyer was like kind of helping with the camera ready stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. It definitely seems staged, and oh yeah, Star, the raincoat guy. Yeah. I mean, that is weird to do some weird stuff. Now, I will say hindsight did locate the guy in the restaurant and was pointing out like where he was, and Katie was looking across the restaurant at that guy too. So I found that to be something. Um, you know, yeah, all about the money, Lori, for sure. For sure. It's all about the money to him, all about the fact that, look what he did in Kylie Rodney's case, there's a lot of things about that guy that are shady, and so of course they're going to go with the person that's shady and not someone who's reputable, I know, I saw her Detroit Rock City. I saw her. That's one of the little things the bird told me. I was like, "Oh. Oh no." Yeah, for only those couple of seconds you could see what kind of a kid he is. Exactly. Exactly. Like, and then also when we learned about, the kind of books he likes to read and different things like that. I thought it was funny that Seth likes Grisham. Grisham's really good. If you guys like true crime, you might like Grisham. Um, let's see. Yeah, Anita says, hearing Sebastian shattered me. I couldn't stop crying. It's strange. I don't even know this precious young man, but he sits deep in my heart. Yes, and I think that's another thing too. Any kind of time that Seth can do that, but it was so hard for him, like I can't imagine. I don't know. I probably would just show my avatar and just say screw him for whoever wanted to talk shit, because I don't know that I don't know that I could do it. It's very emotional, and then also it's just like hearing his son's voice again, I mean, I'm sure he can't listen to that without crying. It's so natural that I think a lot of us can relate. Um, Jen says, "Do you think that you shouldn't be able to come back after threatening someone's life?" Or you'd think, yeah, you would think, yeah, definitely. Um, there was a lot of thumbnails that had like coffins and like nails in it, and I'm like, if we can't say domestic violence or rape on this stuff without getting, demonetized, then um, why is that acceptable? It's weird. Carol Lovett says, I tried to see what KP had on her phone and it was just too blurry. Oh, if you go over to hindsight, or you were on hindsight, Carol. I can see like the Yoda, like Yoda's head, because it's round and green and you can kind of see it in the photo. Like it's not the greatest. It's very difficult to see Katie's phone, which is hard, but it looks like the same image to me. But I'm that's just me speculating. That's just me speculating. Oh, sorry guys, I pressed the wrong button there. Yeah, Borna Honey says, everything I've seen on Sebastian, he seemed like a cool kid. I know it's different living with him, but he doesn't seem like a troublemaker, etc. CP just wanted all the attention, in my opinion. Yeah, and we're going to hear some other things that was going on in the house. As a matter of fact, I'll play the next clip so we can watch them. But yeah, some accusatory things. Chris is very accusatory, and you know, it's part of his personality flaws. He's just the type of person who, um, you know, in my opinion, he's a narcissist and he likes to be an asshole about everything. You know, if he's not, he doesn't feel good about himself. And then he also likes to control everything. So if he wasn't anticipating, like we're about to hear, um, Sebastian having money on him, he calls his father and tries to talk bad to his father as if like he has any right doing so, and he feels completely justified in doing it. That's the problem. And really, he has no business doing that, in my opinion. And it would cause a lot of problems, right? I mean, it's just kind of like, um, I don't know. He's a very hard person to deal with. He's a very difficult personality. You know, he's the guy that they write books about, how to deal with difficult people and stuff like stuff like that, you know. But let's watch this next clip.
You know, teaching him how to use facial cleansers and the little machine. Like, I have pictures because he teenager started to get acne. So, you know, it's just, I'm not done teaching him. And the fact is that somebody has my son, and they're stopping me from continuing to teach him. And just not done. I'm not done living my life, teaching him and enjoying my life next to him. At 15, I'm supposed to get 3 more years before he's, you know, technically able to move out of the house. And now he's 16. Now we're down to 2 years, and it's like, I find him at 16. He would just probably have to stay at my house until he's 20 now, maybe 25. I don't know if I'm going to ever let him leave. Once I find him, like, I've always told him that he has a room at my house no matter what. But now I think it's more along the lines of, you're going to have to stay. You know, I build a house. He's just going to have a house wherever I'm at. You know, you want to move out, that's fine. We'll build another one right behind the house. That way I know where you're at. That way I know that he's safe. And right now, the worst thing in the world is not knowing if he's safe. Not knowing that he's getting fed. Not knowing that he's properly clothed. Not knowing that he's getting the friendship that he deserves. Being able to talk to somebody that understands him. And it's horrible because I don't know what he's going through. And watching her interviews just made me sick because it's about them. I'm going through hell. I know I am, but I also know where I'm at. People know where I am. And we don't know where he is. He is my grace, and he has been my grace since he was born. And I just want to find him.
Seth, it's definitely abundantly obvious to me and Jen and everybody else that's watching that when you have an innocent parent that truly doesn't know where their child is, it's hard to fight back the tears. It's not hard to produce a tear. And I think that your interviews are telling over and over and over again. It's never been about you. It's always been about your son.
You know, I didn't know I could cry this much. I didn't know anybody could cry this much. And it's like every day I feel like maybe I'm cried out. And I won't do it. But just I walk by his room, or I just see something that's his, and it's like, I don't want to move it. Things need to stay where they were at when he left, so when he comes back, it's where he left it. And
Jen, I want to go to you for a minute and give Seth a chance to just decompress for a second. First thing I want to say is I think a lot of times, Jen, that people take having access to you for granted because you've now become this quasi content creator. And I think that, having access to you, being able to speak to you, being able to get your opinions on things, a lot of people take that for granted because you're one of us now, so to speak. But I want everybody that's listening tonight to understand, and Jen, I can speak on a personal level. You and I became friends working another case together, and have maintained a friendship, all the way through today. And I'm blessed to call you a friend. But beyond the personal side of that, guys, when you have somebody with Jen's resume that has done what she's done, it doesn't really matter whether you like her or you like her channel or any of that. And quite frankly, Jen doesn't care any more than we do. But what I think that you have to be grateful to have is her as a resource and listening to her take on things, because quite frankly, it's not an uneducated take. It is a very, very educated take. It's based on years of experience. It's based on resources that have been available to her over time. And, Jen, I'm just eternally grateful that we have you as an ear, as a friend, as someone that when we don't understand something, we can call you and say, hey, does this sound right to you? This is what we've heard. This is what we've learned in our communication with law enforcement, in general. Does this seem right? And you're able to talk us through. Yes, it makes sense. And this is why. Maybe it doesn't make sense. And this is why.
Okay, guys. So Tony just given, the resume of Jen. I think we all kind of know Jen Coffindaffer. She is former FBI, 25 years on the job. And then also she's done like SWAT, according to what she's going to tell us a little bit more about herself. But very, hey, Scranton Strangler, but very seasoned, officer, if you will, from the FBI. And Seth talks about, how Sebastian was just going through normal teenage things, and he remembers kind of, teaching him self-care on that level. He also talks about once he finds him, he won't let him go. And I think that's kind of more along the lines of what I would say probably, you know, thinking into the future. I think it's just difficult because, you do think of those times when your children are going to spread their wings and fly away, right? Because we all do that and it's normal. But with Seth's position, he just really wants to protect Sebastian and keep him safe, and so he can't even think about ever letting him go. If once he finds him. And then he also talks about how he's worried about if he's being fed and clothed. And that's another parental kind of instinct, if you will, wondering if your kids are okay, wondering if they're taken care of, wondering if he has friends, to talk to someone who understands him. And now this is a deeper level, in my opinion, because Sebastian does have autism and he does have a chromosome deletion. And so those both come with a set of issues that really only a parent can really understand, in my opinion, the parent of the child. And that goes for Katie as well. Those are just things that, no one's going to understand or know Sebastian like they do. No one. And he also said when he watched KK's interview that it made him sick, and it did me too. It did me too, and I think a lot of us probably share that feeling. He said it's not about them. He said, he's going through hell. Of course he is, but he just said that it's not about them, and it should be about Sebastian. He said that every day he feels like he has cried so many tears, and because, he has constant reminders of Sebastian around. And I understand that as well. That would be absolutely heartbreaking, going to his room and different things like that. Oh, yeah. Lisa, it's Lady Freedom's Raw Narratives at gmail.com. Hey, Connie S., good to see you. And so, it's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to know what Seth is going through right now, and then of course what Sebastian is going through. But just from a parent standpoint, I think that we can all kind of understand that nurturing side of it if he's being taken care of, and that just has to be pure hell. Thanks, Star. Thank you. Hey, Deborah Dixon, good to see you. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and just watch this next one.
But, again, we're grateful to have you as a friend and a resource, and just want all of your audience that follows you daily and all of Seth's audience to know that, man, what a privilege to have you on talking about Seth and his son and what you see and feel and believe based on your education and all your years experience. So I'm going to turn it over to you and just let you talk for a minute.
Well, Tony, I just want to say, first of all, that is very humbling. I'm humbled to be here because if it were my child, I don't know if I would have the wherewithal that Seth has shown through this. And I mean that sincerely. I haven't walked one step in his shoes, but sadly, I've walked alongside of so many parents over the years still that are in those shoes. And it's really something to watch the strength, to watch the focus be on Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, even with all the noise. And so bringing it back to him, I want to say that with all the cases of the missing, and we're all very active in all these cases. I post about them daily and talk about them daily. And Sebastian is so special. I don't want to say anything negative about any of the other missing. I just want to say, how did he become so special? And I think a big part of it to start, Seth, was your honesty about him, your rawness, moments good, moments bad, but always moments honest. And you brought him to life, I think, for everyone. The pictures that were chosen, starting with the snake. I mean, just the draw of that. I mean, for me personally, we had a ball python named Jackie. My son is the exact same age as Sebastian. And for all of us that have a child and a son, particularly one that age right now, of course, this is so touching. But not only that, it's like the life in his eyes. I posted because I had seen for the first time, I heard his voice with that green tea. And I got to tell you, that moment was tough, and it had to be tough for anybody who has a heart, because you could see that exactly how you talked about him, that you were just honest. You're like, he's kind of quirky. He's funny. He is interesting. And
so that leads me to my next question. I don't want to cut you off, but you walked right into it. You and I were talking on the phone the other day, and we were trying to wrap our brains around what exactly it was. You and I have talked about Joe Petito many times, has talked about the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl effect. And, you don't often see a 15-year-old young man that captures the hearts of America like Sebastian has. So what do you think has made everybody get so entrenched with, I'll say, finding this young man, because I want to believe that that's what most people are here for?
That's what most people are here for. 98% of everybody here is here for that. And going back to a few of those things I said, but I think the other piece, this has truly become, I think for many, a mystery, if you will. To me, I don't really look at it that way, but I think a lot of people think, how in the world did this young man just disappear? And this gorgeous smile, his eyes that light up a room, all of that, you know, Tony and Seth, you could tell he's just a special, fun, vivacious young man. And our hearts go out. Does autism play a part in that? I think yes, because anytime you know that there's someone with special needs that are missing, it's even more special because they're more vulnerable. They're less worldly. So now you have somebody who's a teen, only 15, and vulnerable. It makes all of us even more worried and concerned. You put it all together, and Tony, I'm going to say this, and Seth, this isn't just the United States. The world cares about your son. The world is posting. The world is saying his name, hoping someone saw something.
Well,
Okay, guys. So yeah, I agree with Jen there that Sebastian is his case is worldwide. You know, he's all over YouTube and Hey Starflower, and that's you know, all over the world. And I think that he has captured everyone's heart, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's really good. They were talking about how they're very lucky to have Jake Hoff on panel and just to be a support and to put out good information. And I do agree with that. I think that she does a really good job. You know, and it's somebody that we can turn over to even on YouTube, and she has the you know, the skill set, the experience level, and things like that, where you know, I really value her opinions, because that's what we do on YouTube, is it's all our opinions. But I think that hers are a little bit more valuable than, say, mine, who is not an FBI agent, right? I just like true crime, but she has done a lot of work in different areas of law enforcement. So she said that she's also walked alongside a lot of parents, and she's amazed by the strength, the focus, that they have. And I have to say that I'm very new to true crime, but I do have a good friend named Jana, and we talk about her sister here on our channel. Her name is Crystal McCrory Jones. And I have never seen anyone who was such a stellar investigator as our friend Jana, because her focus and the drive that she has to bring justice for her sister is nothing I've ever seen before. So I can't imagine working with a family of someone who had a very unfortunate set of circumstances that brought them to have to investigate every single aspect of everything that happened, because law enforcement simply would not. And I understand that many of those cases are few and far between. I'm just saying, from my experience, I can understand where Jennifer is coming from. Just the strength, the focus, the drive, the determination to bring justice and to make sure that people care, and that people are listening, and that the story gets out there, because not everybody has that. They talk about the because Joe Petito and the Gabby Petito Foundation is big into that aspect of true crime, how a lot of times the exposure doesn't go to everyone equally. And so I think it's a wonderful thing. But also, um, I think that, again, what we were talking about earlier, Sebastian being special, that, you know, Seth brought him to life for us. That Seth was telling us stories that were relatable, like even stories about not cleaning your room, right? I can relate to that too. And so like there's little things that like all of us know as parents, this age group they do this age group they do that, teenagers, oy vey. So it's kind of, and it's different, and they're learning too, right? And then we're just, some of us, especially if you only have one child, you're learning, everything the first time. It doesn't matter how many kids you've been around or how many, sisters or brothers you have. When you're a parent, it's a completely different ball game, right? Because you're responsible. You're the one that they look to for everything. And even just little things like Seth was talking about, shaving and things like that. I mean, um, it's just one of those things. Now, he also brought in funny stories again, like we were talking about earlier, letting us know, hey, Sebastian's super funny. He's interesting. He also said things, even in the very beginning interviews, like the fact that Sebastian would bring the sunshine into the room, right? He brings the sun where he goes. And that was another thing, just seeing the love of a father like that. That's gonna capture all of our hearts, right? Because those are the things that good people like. You know what I mean? We don't want to see the nastiness. We'd rather see good things like that. Um, Jacob says that the green tea video really got her, and I mean that was just like the first time that we were ever able to see kind of Sebastian in action, right? For me, that's what I felt like. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we get to see his mannerisms more, and the way that, like Seth said, we'll see it later. But he mentions that like if he's walking with a group of kids, what's gonna make him stand out from the rest of the kids, right? Say he is walking down the road with kids, and you're like, oh, okay, that looks like Sebastian, right? So that's what the main goal is, especially when people are missing and we don't know what happened to them, is to make sure that we all recognize their facial features, any type of, like he has a dimple, but that was something that wasn't, highly discussed at first. It was more or less just like what he was wearing. And, we all know we can change clothes. There's some times where, you probably wouldn't even recognize me. So it's just like, just knowing the facial features and things like that. Another thing is people could take, and abduct a child and change their hair color. And so we would never know, the difference, right? But if we can recognize facial features, that's really important. Or identifying features, like birthmarks and things like that. Just in case we get lost, that's always good to know. Tattoos are also identifiers, but obviously Sebastian doesn't have tattoos. Um, so she also talks about how a lot of us, and I think that this is very true, and I've said this before too, that finding Sebastian is a lot of our number one goals, right? Because we just want him to be found. We can't stand the fact of knowing that he's out there someplace too. I mean, a lot of us, like I said again, mothers, fathers, we get it. Um, and then also, Jacob talked a lot about Seth keeping the focus on Sebastian, even with all of the noise. And I really appreciate and agree with that. She said that she thinks a lot of people are interested and maybe intrigued by the mystery behind what happened to Sebastian. And I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing. I don't, because it's bringing people in, it's making them curious, right? And it is very mysterious circumstances that we're dealing with here. We're not only dealing with mysterious circumstances, trauma recognizes trauma. And when we see what is going on in this family, if you don't have some type of feeling towards it, then maybe you don't feel a whole lot. And some people are that way. But I think that people who have lived in similar situations, or who have come from abuse, or who have children who are on the spectrum, I think those are all very relatable factors and things that intrigue us about Sebastian's case, wondering what could have happened. I think it scares the living daylights out of all of us thinking about the abuse that occurred in Chris and Katie's home. And I think that, if we've ever dealt with it, then we are more understanding of what may have happened here in terms of wondering if it could be a situation where foul play is involved. And the reason why is because of this abuse that was occurring, because they were trying to make him leave the home, because by all accounts, they were over his behavior. Um, and to me, I think that is something that draws up a lot of red flags for people. And when it does that, it also intrigues people to want to know more and how can we help? And, well, what about this? And what happened here? Not necessarily a bad thing. Just being mindful that, you know, there's certain things that you probably wouldn't want to hear. I wouldn't want to hear if it was my child. And so just keeping mindful of that. But I don't think it's a bad thing to be intrigued by the mystery and also wondering what happened to Sebastian. Where is Sebastian? That's the biggest thing. And then also we think about Sebastian being more vulnerable. And so the concern rises up more because of the fact that he is, again, he went missing when he was 15. He's now 16, still not of age to be kind of out on your own. I know that some people have had to do that, and it's just, not ideal. And then also just with some of the issues that Sebastian would deal with, it wouldn't be as easy for him to navigate through that without the people that he loves around him, like his mom and dad, right? And so just keeping mindful of that. But hey, Hush Pup, good to see you. All right, guys, let's just go on here to the next one.
You mentioned hearing his voice with the green tea, and something I didn't even talk to you about before the interview, but you're going to get to hear his voice again tonight, and it's going to be in a way that is so raw that I don't think there'll be a dry eye in the house. But I want everybody to understand that I believe that when you come on the Father's channel to hear the Father in the raw, with raw emotions, talking about his son, I do believe that's a privilege. I don't believe it's a right. And these are personal things he's sharing. This is a vulnerability he's sharing. And I just don't want anybody to take that for granted, because I can tell you, you guys came tonight to hear from the Father, not from Jen and myself, but you can see that Seth is not doing well. And, he doesn't like me sharing his personal business, but I can tell you the last few days have been a real struggle. And while we're on that subject, we've got a lot of content creator friends that religiously call and talk to Seth and check on him, and just ask him how he's doing. And you guys know who you are. I wanted to thank you for that. And Seth, we'll give the mic back to you. Unless you're not ready, buddy. Jen, where do you think we're at in the case right now, Jen?
I tell you, in listening, obviously watching everything any of us that are invested in this case are doing, right, is getting your hands on everything, especially since it's, been a year ago, the 25th, the last time he was seen, the 26th, when he was reported. There's been a lot in mainstream media now. And a lot to watch and digest, and a lot of very interesting assertions, I think, that were, to me, quite perplexing. And
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
Have you ever had a missing persons case where people are getting threats? They're just looking for him, where people you can't even be sure that your vehicle is going to be safe if you stop and you start searching somewhere. You're going to people get threatened. I mean, Nick and Dog's team, $100,000 bounty for each person's head. I mean, this kind of stuff is just ridiculous. I would.
It is ridiculous. And really what needs to happen is law enforcement needs to go in. It's kind of like, remember the school shootings right now, they're happening and young ones are doing it. And for years, law enforcement overlooked 12-year-olds that said, I want to blow up the school, or an 11-year-old, I want to shoot up the school. And they just said, oh, he doesn't mean it. Tommy doesn't mean it. Well, now that they're coming to life, right? Now, if you say that, I don't care whether you're 9, you're going to get arrested. 10, 11. I mean, I can't believe the age of people that they're pulling in. I shouldn't say I can't believe it. They're doing the right thing because this is the only way. And this equates to this situation. It is time for the terroristic threat statute to be used in these cases, that if you threaten any sort of physical harm, if you harass, if you stalk, you have to use those statutes, and you have to possibly levy charges, but certainly have law enforcement come down and talk to these people. It's outrageous.
It's like a stupid John Grisham novel. Like, I happen to like John Grisham. I've read a lot of his books. Clive Cluster. Sebastian even reads Clive Cluster. I've got a whole bunch of his hardback books. Sebastian reads these. I read them. I mean, it's literally like it's out of a novel. And I tell you what, it's horrible. It gives me a different perspective when I read these books now of what that person's going through. And it doesn't even begin to touch what Sebastian's going through, because we don't know. That's the unknown. We don't know where he is. We don't know what he's going through. And that just scares the shit out of me. Excuse my language. It's just, I've never been a person that's been scared of anything. And now I'm scared because I don't know what my son's going through. And that frightens me.
Well, I think all of us, Seth, especially you as his father, for heaven's sakes, but I think that's the fear we all have, right? That's another reason why everybody is so engaged, is as you start to think of, what he could have gone through, what he could be going through, just everything that young man, he's been gone a year now. And, I understand where you're coming from, Seth.
Yeah. So again, guys, it's just difficult to watch this. Seth said that he's never been scared before in his life, and now he's scared for Sebastian. And so that's got to be, absolutely different than what he's used to. And then just heartbreaking, for a father to have to worry. I'm sure he worries constantly. So Tony talks about how Seth is struggling, and the last few days have been very, very tough on him, rightfully so, in my opinion. Also, he talks about how people do check on Seth, so I think that is a very positive thing, and I'm glad that people do that. And then Jen says that a lot of the information in mainstream media is perplexing to her, and Seth asks her if what she thinks about, or if she's ever really heard of people who are threatening those who are just looking. He says that they can't be safe in their vehicle. They can't be sure their vehicle is safe if they go to stop and put out flyers or something like that, I'm assuming. And then also he said that there was $100,000 bounty for each person on each person's head, and he named a few names in there, which again, that was information that has been out there for a while now, and I just can't even believe it. These people are, just staying true to fashion, but it's also, it's still really mind-boggling how they're able to get away with this behavior. And so I also added to the list like flyers being taken down, yard signs being taken down, consider creators threatening each other and acting fools all day. Just constantly making fun of the same creator over and over and over. And anytime you turn them on, it's like, oh, let me guess who you're talking about today. And it just gets to the point where it's like, Jen says it's outrageous and ridiculous. And I have to agree. She brings in point a terroristic threat statute that can be used, but either way, law enforcement needs to step in. And it's one thing to get up here and talk about your opinions and talk with your chat, and if somebody says something, you could say, okay, well, we're not really going to say it like that in here, or something like that. But then to just sit there and be hateful all damn day, and then putting like literal threats on your thumbnails and things like that because you think you're tough. It doesn't take a tough person to do that. It just takes a really stupid one. And again, going back to what Seth was saying very early on in this interview, it's not worth Sebastian's time, and so why give it any type of weight, right? And he said that he feels, like he's like this story, what's going on in his life, feels like it's something out of a novel. He said that now he has a different perspective when he reads novels like Grisham. He says that he can really understand what the characters are going through, but it doesn't touch what Sebastian's going through. And then he talks about how he's never been afraid before, or scared of anything before, but now, he has this maybe foreboding or fear because he is constantly worried about what has happened to Sebastian. Where is Sebastian? And Hush Pup says all those threats and behavior of people within the family is exactly why I think they are involved. It isn't normal. Thank you, Hush Puppy. It isn't normal at all. It's not normal at all. Hey, Lil Redo. It's not normal. It is very, outrageous. It really is. It's like, it's adding insult to injury, really is what it is, because we have an injured family that has obviously had a lot of issues going on in the household. But on top of that, we have people who decide that they are going to put Sebastian's name on content where there's people that are threatening each other, misbehaving, acting crazy. And I can't imagine what Seth must feel like having people doing that in his son's name, because Sebastian is a very loving, kind, caring person, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And also, when somebody might say that, Sebastian would haunt his mom, like Sebastian's got too much love in his heart for that, right? He's too good of a person to ever want to do that. And so I'm sure those are all things that kind of swirl around his head. And then also with the family that we know has a history of paying people off and bribing people, paying people to do dirty deeds. It's just one of those things where it's like maddening to know that this is happening in a child's case that is missing, and how come we can't put up a flyer and talk about anything besides other creators and what they're doing? I'm not saying that it's never going to happen, or that, there might be some kind of beef or whatever, disagreement, or one person thinks this and another person thinks this, right? It's going to happen, and that's okay. There's nothing really wrong with that. Where it's wrong is when there's threats involved, and it's wrong when a father is looking for his child and he has to worry about people who are helping him. And this has gone on from the beginning, threaten to harm the people that are helping. And so that's got to be very maddening too. I remember a statement from Seth when this was all happening, and he said, I believe it was on Pascal, and he said, I have to worry about my searchers. And he's like, so on top of the fact that he's searching and looking for his son, he has to worry about the people that are helping him because they're getting threatened. And this has been going on from day one. There is something really rotten in that town. And I try not to harp on it too often, but it's just, there's something wrong. There is a divide in that town, and you see it on the news, and you see it in real life. You see it on YouTube, where there are just people that don't want Sebastian to be found. There's no other good explanation that I can come to when we look back at the events that have taken place. It's all about what has transpired, what has been said, what has been done. So it doesn't it's really not an opinion at that point. It's more or less like, what the heck is going on in this child's case, and why have all the weirdos come out of the woodwork? It's very strange. Oh, thank you, Tony. Thanks for becoming a member. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is unreal. It is unreal, Detroit Rock City. It is. How heartless that people were being. Like, I saw a couple of the comments that got deleted tonight, shame on you. And you know who you are. Shame on you. And how dare you? It's just not right. It's just not right. Aw, Lori, I know this is tough. Hey, Jennifer, good to see you. And see, that's the thing, when we have people who are standing together and they're being supportive, that's what we need in there. That's what Seth needs in there. Not idiots who don't know anything besides drama to be like, oh, well, I thought this was supposed to be about Sebastian. Well, if you'd open your ears, maybe you'd hear that. But you choose to keep those hate glasses on and sip that haterade, and then you lose everything. You have no idea what you're talking about. You just come off as stupid, and I don't like using that word towards people, and I don't typically like to call people names, but, I mean, what else can you say to somebody that acts like that? And then just because somebody doesn't agree with one person's piece of evidence that they think that could be something, and they want to just go off and, just attack each other. But that is not helping at all. All it's doing is making people look like they're jerks, and act like they're jerks. So it's very frustrating. I can't imagine. Those are just my frustrations. I can't imagine what Seth is going through. But it is just so bizarre that people are being followed and threatened, and and that people don't want to find what happened to Sebastian, because there are some people out there that are that way. They really are. They're just in it. Just, I don't even know. Maybe their lives aren't great, and so this is something that makes them feel better. I don't know. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Excuse me. And Deborah Dixon says, Lady Freedom, it got to the point that I can't watch the creators I used to love watching because it's all fighting. Yeah, and that's another problem too I had. I can understand that, because it's just like, you don't know who to watch then, and then you're sitting there like, I don't even know what's going on here, but it's boring me to death because I don't care. I would rather hear about somebody that went missing and what their story is, over somebody who wants to just sit there and act like a butt. I mean, I don't know any other good way to put it. It's just it's like, they know what they're doing, you know what I mean? They know what they're doing, but it's just like, I can't even stay engaged with it. It's very boring to me. So I hear you. I hear you on that one. Starflower says we need more understanding and love in this world, it starts with me. I can't change anyone, but I can spread love. That's right, Starflower, and that's true. And it's just always like about kind of checking ourselves, right? Because there's been times where, I've said things like, one that I didn't even realize until after I posted it, and then I was watching it again, and I'm like, oh, well, we don't know, and I said this was the last person who saw Sebastian, but do we really know that? So there's always things, but that comes with, running our mouths in speculation. um, but thank you, Starflower, because that's always important to keep in mind. Even for creators, we're not perfect. We're just people. We're just people up here with opinions. And Show Poodle says, why has no one, or why has not one arrest been made? They framed the J6ers, but can't find these people threatening other Sebastian's perpetrators. Come on, it's all BS. Yeah, Show Poodles, it really bothers me because even at the press conference on April 2nd was the last one they did a press conference with Craddock, and he said that there weren't threats being made. And so he was even saying that there weren't. I don't know if he's changed since then, because obviously it's been, coming up on a year since he has said that. But I just find it to be really odd, because we heard people coming forward and saying, like, even the United Cajun Navy, the Uvalde Foundation was like, we can't deal with this. And so what it does, and here's the thing. My opinion on this is that I really do believe that that's what they're doing. They're trying to turn away any good person that could actually help away from the case, because most people who care and who want answers and truth, they don't care about drama, and so those people are going to be like, well, that's a lot of drama that I don't want in my life, right? And so they decide, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. But they're giving up on Sebastian when they do that. They're not giving up on anybody else besides him. And when they do that, it makes the other side really, really happy. I mean, it might even make the devil dance, because it's so disgusting and awful. And it's happening in his case, and clearly Seth just wants to know why. What the hell is going on? He's asking an expert, like, look, what is going on here? Is this normal? And everybody in chat was like, it's not normal. It's not normal. It's not normal, because it's not. And I think we all need to come together and say that together and be like, this is not normal, so that's definitely a positive thing, in my opinion, just to be like, you know what? I'm not going to give it any time, no time at all. Yeah. Hush Puppy says, I agree, Detroit Rock City. I personally get the feeling that the loudmouths shouting about Seth are being paid. Yeah, that's only me, though, not saying it's true. Yeah, I Hush Puppy, I think it's a game. I think it's a game for them, because they do get a lot of money from people, right? To do bad, and it does have a lot to do with the viewers that are viewing these this filth and stuff. I'm not saying that I'm any better than they are. I'm not. I'm just a person, again, just a person. But they're benefiting from it, or they wouldn't be doing it. So I think that you're absolutely correct, Hush Puppy. Hey, Sharon, good to see you. Love Horses says, absolutely, we should all think that way. Oh, goodness sakes. Sorry. Detroit Rock City, I clicked on your name there. Detroit Rock City says, I don't know if they do, but I don't care. I was going to look it up. Oh, found. Thank you, Show Poodles. And Starflower says, I don't get attacked because I don't watch them. I never go to their chats, but I have reported videos after seeing an awful clips or on channels. I will continue to do that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I really do. I really do think that's like our only way that we can help, really with that, is to like let YouTube know, hey, this is what's going on. And it takes a lot to do all that too. And then also, we have to make sure, you almost have to watch it to make sure which offense you're reporting it for and things like that. So it just does, it eats up time that we all don't have. Life is so short, and for us to sit here and deal with their nastiness, it's like, it's not worth our time. It's definitely not worth Sebastian's time. So yeah, but I agree with that, Starflower. I think it's a good idea to do that, especially if you just see, stumble upon a thumbnail and you're like, good Lord, that looks kind of violent and hateful and mean. By all means, because that's the thing. It does take a lot of voices to come together, to make enough noise to get the right things done, and I'm not talking about, laying in the laying in front of something and, causing a scene. But I'm saying, if everybody starts doing that, it's going to be noticed. And I think it already has been, because it was awfully quiet on the streets of YouTube for about a week. Lori says, oh, Uvalde seemed to change their story also about why they left. Yeah, I just remember them putting out a statement that they couldn't get any like straight answers. And I'm assuming they're talking about the feet, because that's who doesn't give straight answers. Love horses, there was a lot of love in there. There was a lot of love, and those mods, they just kind of like, karate chop the trolls. It was pretty funny. I was like, oh, there goes another comment. That was a rude one, but really, for the most part, there was a lot of love and support. So, um, way more good than bad. So, and Hush Puff, Starflower said, Hush Puff, I said exactly the same thing earlier tonight. Hey, Forrest, good to see you. Yeah, so it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. Oh, Star, thank you for gifting a membership. Thank you so much. Aw. If you got a membership from Star, make sure you say thank you. Oh, Star. Look at me. I'm just jabbering away over here, just jabbering my jaw. Aw, thank you, Anne. You're such a sweetheart. Thank you. We love you too over here. If you guys got the memberships from Star, thank you, Star. Aw, that's so sweet. Welcome to the Free Birds. Hey, Billy B. Good to see you. Good to see you. Aw, hey, my sweet Trisha. Aw. Sharon, how you been? Did you watch the video yesterday? I did. Are you talking about the one from Hindsight? The one from Hindsight was so good, and I was also like trying to tell her go over, or I think if I get it wrong, I'm sorry, guys. But I was like, go over and watch my video. Go watch it, like, so I'm hoping. She said something about that they sent it to Sumner County, but nobody would do anything. I sent it to Dog and TBI. I sent it to the wrong TBI address to begin with, and then I was like, what? Undeliverable. And then, of course, my true crime brain was all suspicious for a second there, like, what? Why isn't it? And then I realized, like, duh, you have to put the right address. And so I did, and it sent me a message back. And basically, it just was an automated message that said that they don't check them 24/7. And, so that email for the TBI is not manned 24/7. It is like a public email that is used for tips. And so, just something to keep in mind if you all did send over, because I know a few of you did send over the screenshots and things like that. So I felt compelled to do it. I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, but I still felt compelled to do it. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I do, and it's like no harm, no foul, right? They're just going to be like, oh, that's a crazy YouTuber. Like, don't listen to her. Either way, I'm, sending it out, because we don't know. And it's just weird for that dude to have like a picture of Sebastian on his phone, and knowing Katie was taking pictures. And again, no stone left unturned. I'm with that. And Brenda says we should be able to say it very apparent to me that the Foots and Socks are involved in a large criminal organization. It's the only way it all makes sense to me, in my opinion. Yeah. Deborah, I do share that opinion that it was a group effort. I don't think it was only two. And I do believe that they are into a lot of dirty dealings. A lot. A lot. Very many. And for a very long time. And so they do get supply from it. Starflower says, I look at the karma channels as narcissists, and that means they are getting their supply from all the drama they start. You deal with a narcissist by going gray rock, not responded to their karma. Yes, exactly. Starflower, well said. That is so true. Thank you, Sharon. Aw, thank you, Sharon. That is so true. Oh, Scranton knows. It's like, oh, 109. Okay, oh, I guess we gotta have a party, huh? Yes, a week, a little piece, but it's back. Oh no. What are we gonna do? I'm good with like not even paying attention, but I know that nothing good will come. And Little Red says, well, I'm very tired of clickbait for likes and subs. I am tired of folks dragging their subs around by saying, I know things I can't share yet. Little Reddo. Oh gosh, and I kind of did that yesterday because we were going to talk about Jana, but then we were going to talk about Crystal, excuse me, but then I completely forgot that Seth was going on. Sometimes because I go on late, then I forget, like, what day is it? Oh yeah, today's Thursday. Okay. So I need to get my crap together. And Billy B for you says, love everything you do in the case, keeping it real. Aw, thank you, Billy B. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. Thanks, Forrest. And Anne says, I'm not going to go back to the channel anymore because of what happened to me, the one people on their channel. Oh no, I'm sorry, Anne. I'm sorry. People can be real butts, and then they can change their, people can change, but that's the thing. I'm like that too. I just kind of will stay away and do my own thing, do something different, So I think that's a good strategy. And Saturn says, I just watched Seth and then Mike Damon. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Good, Saturn, good. We're watching Seth tonight too. We're watching Seth tonight too. Yeah, Brenda, he did say that, to call the TBI. Yeah. Yeah, he thinks that he has people in his back pocket. He just doesn't. I don't know about that as much anymore as I thought before. I think that might have been a little bit true in the beginning. I think they're wisening up to it. Oh my gosh. I bet he did have a lot in there, Sharon. He's not a very nice person. Billy B for you says, I think up to 7 people know or are involved in his disappearance. I mean, there's quite a few people, and especially when we know what happened with Nina and how many people showed out for that. Yeah. Forrest says, I only listen to the truth channels as I don't want my thoughts fogged up with the lies. That does happen. That's really true. I believe in that. I believe that, like, if we watch it too much, we kind of start, and I get put in a bad mood. Like, if I watch them, I'm like, I'm mad, and then I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? It's not fair. And it doesn't help Sebastian. Oh, great. Oh, great. It was beautiful. C. Taylor, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, it was. Seth always does a really nice job of advocating and talking about Sebastian. So what is with that video? That person in Sebastian so creepy. Where is it from? Yeah, Hush Puppy. So that one is from the Texas Roadhouse outside after Sebastian and Katie leave the restaurant. And there is this man that has been creeping around the restaurant. We're not sure what he was really there doing, but he seems to have a picture of Sebastian on his phone. And it very much looks like either he took photos or maybe possibly a video, or maybe those were sent to him. That it's still unclear, but still really strange that, and creepy. Yeah, I agree that this person had any type of footage of Sebastian or anything like that. A picture, even in one single picture, would raise my flags, you know. Um, and Saturn says Jen Coffindaffer, that was great of her being on Seth's show. Yeah, she's awesome. She is awesome, you know. Can one of the mods put Lady Freedom's email in the chat so I can try? Yeah, definitely, Anne. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Star. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, let's watch this next one. I don't know why it's not working, Anne. I don't know why on earth. Star, you can put the mod email in there too. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad. I'm so bad. What is the mod email, by the way? I have too many emails. Okay, you can put it in. Oh, crud. Okay, so it's Lady Freedom's Mod Squad at gmail.com. So Lady Freedom's plural mod squad at gmail.com. I thought it was going to kick me off, and it did, but thank you. Thank you, Star. That way, if that one doesn't work, Anne, you could try that one. Okay, guys, here we go.
What's worse is being told to go look at this or go look at that by my connects, and then getting the information, going through over 200 pages of notes, and seeing what was going on in his life that I wasn't part of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like these reports that we got, and I'm not talking about CPS reports, those were bad enough. But then these other reports, I gave them to one of my psychologist friends, and I had this individual go over them, and they were just like, it's night and day between your house and their house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't understand how a child can live in your house, how your child could live in the house, and you not interact with your child. That's supposed to be your flesh and blood.
Well, Seth, we can understand a little bit of that because we had an opportunity to see behind the curtain with the Texas Roadhouse video. That was interesting to me. We got a chance to pull the curtain open when, you know, she thought no one was watching, and we got to see the detachment for ourselves. We got to see
that is normal. That's what these reports actually told me, was that's normal in the house. I
agree, but I'm saying we actually got to watch it.
Yeah, well, and 287 pages, Jen. So if you can imagine, everybody says, well, the father wants to sling mud because of these CPS reports. And, you know, this could be this could be that. But I'll tell you what can't be this or that is 52 weeks from February of 23 till February of 24, one counseling meeting per week for 52 weeks with an average of 5 to 6 pages per week, per meeting, explaining everything that was going on inside of that home, and more powerfully quoting Sebastian. So imagine being a father and going through the last 52 weeks inside of that home and listening to what your son had to say about that. It's indescribable.
What hurts me even more is the fact that he didn't tell me. He didn't tell me. I don't know why. With I thought I was there for him, and for some reason he didn't tell me everything that was going on.
He was just afraid, Seth. He was afraid, and no matter what,
He should have never been afraid. My son should have never been afraid of anything.
I can't.
Well, Seth,
but that's normal. I'm just saying it's normal, especially children. And I don't know if they mentioned anything about this, but children will protect their parents, good, bad, or the ugly. And I think that was probably a product of that, not wanting to say anything disparaging to you about his mom.
well, and look at this through a child's lens, Seth. You had Sebastian 2 days of every 14 days. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
So
sometimes 3. God, sometimes 3.
Okay. So you've got a child that is living in an unhealthy environment for, 6/7 of the time. And he was probably terrified in the time he got to spend to you that if he, we've heard some of the stories about how he got chastised for reaching out to his school and reaching out to CPS workers and told that he was overreacting and this and that. Well, imagine knowing that he only had you for 2 days, and then the other 12 days of that 14 days, he has to go back into that environment. So through a child's lens, he's going to do everything he can do to make the majority of his time, which is the other 12 days, go as smooth as possible. And here's what he knows. He knows that if he goes to school, that he may or may not get protection from what's going on at home at school. But he's comfortable at least talking to them and telling them that. But he knows if he comes to his daddy and tells his daddy what's going on, and he's not taken out of that home, then it's going to be a catastrophe inside of that home. So you have to look at it through a child's lens, and it would be very, very difficult for that child to come to the guy that he knows things would blow up with if he shared that with. So, just like Jen said, I mean, it's very, very difficult for a child to tell on a parent.
Okay, guys. So there's a lot of dynamics at play here, and there's a lot of emotion and feelings here. So Seth talks about there being over 200 pages of notes that he has probably poured over and probably gone over many, many times, reliving the abuse that Sebastian was enduring and the trauma that he was enduring. And as a parent, I think that we could all relate to a level of guilt that Seth would be feeling for his son reading these notes. Now, these notes, according to Tony, were taken over the last 52-week period before Sebastian went missing. So from February to February, a 52-week period, he would meet with his counselor once a week. They came up with 287 pages of notes, about an average of, 6 pages per session. And they actually quote Sebastian in these documents, saying that he was telling the counselor how he was feeling, and the counselor had enough sense to quote Sebastian and what he was saying. And so that way Seth can look back and see this and understand that these are Sebastian's words that he was using, and how he was expressing his feelings and what he was going through, and situations that he was sharing with the counselor. And he said that seeing what was going on in Sebastian's life, the things that he didn't know about, he said was heartbreaking to him, and you could see it, you could feel it, you could you could just understand it. And whenever he gave this paperwork to um, a psychiatrist of a friend of his, um, they noted that it was night and day from Sebastian's experiences at his mother and stepfather's house versus his father's house. And he said that the no interaction, and as I talk, we can watch this part that I kept in here. As we can see, there is no interaction during dinner, and Seth says that is normal. That when he was reading over this paperwork, that no interaction that we're witnessing here, that was a normal occurrence at the Proudfoot residence. And so Seth was saying how he is very saddened, and he's feeling very badly in retrospect, because Sebastian did not come to him with the issues that he was experiencing. And there's a couple of things that I kind of want to touch on here. One, I believe that when there is a child that is going through abuse in an opposite household, that they know the other parent will do something about it, but the fact that they know this other parent will do something about it, it causes a level of fear, not because the good parent is willing to step up to the plate and stop this mess, but because the child knows that this is going to rock the boat, right? In an already very tumultuous situation, Sebastian knew that if he mentioned this to his father was going to have some questions for the feet, and that his father was going to get to the bottom of what was going on. And so Sebastian felt comfortable. And this is why therapy is very important for children, especially in really anyone who has dealt with trauma, because it allows you to have a safe space to talk about issues that you maybe wouldn't want to share with just anybody, but then also it's empowering you to have a voice and to explain what you're going through. And so when we think about that, it is a very good thing that Sebastian was going to these sessions. However, the thought that Seth felt that, Sebastian could come to him and talk to him about anything, it's a kind of like a double-edged sword, because he was thinking that he was there for his son to the best that he could be, and he was probably feeling confident that if Sebastian had something that he needed to speak with Seth about, that he could come to him and talk to him about that. But when you learn that there are things that your children are hiding, there's a lot of guilt involved with that, because you just know that you would help them, and the fact that they didn't tell, and that they waited to tell you, can be kind of maddening, because you know that you could have done something sooner. And especially in a case like this where Sebastian is now missing, it's got to be absolutely maddening, heartbreaking, enraging, a whole lot of different emotions, because here you are thinking that I know I told my child to come to me and my child feels comfortable coming to me, but then there's other factors that are coming in, like maybe he's being threatened not to say anything by the other parents. Maybe he doesn't want to speak badly about his mother because he loves his mother. And maybe he just doesn't want to rock the boat because he is afraid that he is going to suffer the repercussions of telling on someone like Mr. Foot. And so many of those factors come into play. But I think the worst part for Seth is having to look at these documents in retrospect and relive the abuse that he couldn't help back then because he didn't know about it. And that has to be just beyond frustrating, beyond frustrating and beyond words, really. I mean, I don't know any other way to kind of explain that dynamic. It's just like when kids will swear someone to secrecy, or maybe they might feel comfortable telling a friend something that they wouldn't feel comfortable telling a parent because it's less likely that the friend will tell, what's been going on. And so they really want to talk about it, and they really want to tell people what's going on. And I think in Sebastian's situation, he understood that these behaviors weren't normal. I'm hoping that the counselor helped him work through that as well, because he was being honest. Obviously, there were things that were shared that are devastating to Seth, and just the fact that he couldn't help, but he wanted to, but he just couldn't, because he didn't have the knowledge of that. And when even when a child goes to a therapist, they don't typically tell the parents what's going on. For obvious reasons, but then again, a double-edged sword. C. Taylor says, I believe if Sebastian resisted telling Seth, then the counselor probably encouraged him to share info with his school, and it appears he did speak with some teachers, etc. Yeah, absolutely. I think it like empowered him to understand that, hey, look, for one, this isn't your fault. For two, this is not normal. And for three, it's okay for you to have a voice. And those are some things that are really important that we learn in counseling, right? Counselors and therapists often will teach us to be empowered, right? They'll teach us to be assertive. They'll teach us to speak up, because you can't get the proper help if we don't speak up, right? But it's very difficult for us to do it, as Tony mentioned, when you have to go back to that environment and you have to kind of suck it up and just deal with what they're doing to you. But it's not right, but also you're stuck there. And so it's a very suffocating type of a thing. Well, yeah, they should be show poodles. They are. They absolutely are, a mandated reporter. So that could be why these CPS reports were coming out as well, because of what was happening in these sessions. So very good point. Yeah, I know, Brenda. It's very upsetting. It is. Yeah. Yep. They're mandated. They're mandated. Yep. And the teachers reported, hey, Justice Jane, good to see you. Scranton says, show poodles, good point. But the teachers did report some stuff. That's why 5 CPS reports, some of them afterwards came out and said they were afraid he was gone because he was talking. Yes, I do remember that. And that is, I think that's valid. I think that's a valid concern. I really do. Hey, Pepper, good to see you. Saturn says, apparently Sebastian went to counseling weekly with that much paperwork. Geez, he obviously did talk to the counselor, but why would the counselor let him stay in the home environment? I know. It's very difficult. And the thing is that all the counselor can do is report it. And I think that the counselor should have went a step further and at least involve Seth into it, especially if they knew that Sebastian had another parent in the mix. I don't know why they don't do that. I really don't. I wish I could answer it. Oh, I know. It peed me off too with that Detroit Rock City. Like, really, you're saying call 911, but you didn't, you know. Yeah, law enforcement stuff, yeah, up in my opinion. Yeah, Billy B. I think they need to come into action now. They do. They need to come into action now. They really do. Let's see here. Let's do the party because I think we have over 100. So thank you all so much for hitting the like button. I really appreciate that. And we'll go ahead and play the Lady Freebird party.
Weezer, there's someone I'd like you to meet. That looks like an autopsy.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. I'm so mad I don't know what to do. I want to know why. Lord, I wish I could understand. I just want to hit something. I want to hit it hard.
Here, hit this. Go ahead, Malin. Slap her.
Are you crazy?
Hit her.
Are you high, Clary?
We'll sell t-shirts saying I slapped Weezer Boudreaux. Hit her. Weezer, this is your chance to do something for your fellow man. Knock her lights out, Malin.
Let go of me.
But you don't say that.
Malin, you just missed a chance of a lifetime. Have a chickapin parish and give the eye teeth to take a whack at Weezer.
You are a pig from hell.
Weezer, I was just kidding. Come back. Oh.
Weezer, what brings you here? Shut up.
Not a very Christian thing to do. And now you gotta lighten up.
If you can't say anything nice about anybody, come sit by me.
Looks like two pigs fighting under a blanket.
A girl is fair game until there's a ring on it. And I mean a wedding ring. An engagement ring just means she's ready for one more mistake. Okay, this is perfect. Watch this.
Sometimes I wish I was smooth like Zahid. Of all the people I know, he's the best at girls.
Thanks, Weezy. Nothing like a good piece of ass.
And that's how you do it. Now, I'm gonna go hide in the back because that guy said he's gonna kick my ass and he has a neck tattoo, so...
I am pleasant. Damn it, I just saw Drum eating in this morning at the Piggly Wiggly and I smiled at the son of a bitch for I could help myself.
Honey, time marches on, and eventually you realize it's marching across your face.
Okay, guys. So, Robini, I'm assuming that they did choose the counselor, whoever they brought Sebastian to go see. Yeah, I would assume so. Just because it seems to me like they were going, the once a week, and I don't think Seth had any knowledge of that. And Mountain Mama, yes, I saw your comment too. She did say to, well, I'm not exactly sure who she told, but Sebastian's grandma did know about some of the things that were going on, and he did swear her to secrecy and ask her not to share that information, and she confided in him, and I can understand why she would honor that. And yes ma'am, that is my understanding. And then here I will go ahead and we'll play this next one. Let's see, 52. Okay, here we go.
I think he was trying. He was reaching out for help. I think there's some entities that failed him. For sure.
Failed him. And
Well, you didn't fail him.
I mean, I look at hindsight's 2020, and I see things, and it's like I should have recognized it, and I didn't.
Hindsight's 2020, Seth. You didn't know, you didn't have those reports, you didn't have that information. You can't beat yourself up. I know you're beating yourself up probably about so many things that's, happens so often, but you just can't. You just need to redirect that sadness and energy to exactly what you have been doing, is spending every minute you can, whether it's passing out flyers, whether it's advocating on your channel, whether it's searching, whether it's conducting interviews, everything you're doing, just keep doing it for Sebastian. You're
That's
really,
all I can do. That's my goal, is to find him. I don't have to save my son. I don't have to tell my son I love him. He knows I love him. But I think about the last phone call I had with him that Thursday before. And it's like, I tell him I love him at the end of every phone call. Because not only the profession that I've been in, every day is not guaranteed. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And that's one of the things that I've always told him at the end of every phone call. All that sort of stuff. So I know that he knows that I love him because I tell him. And I just want him to call me. I want him to call 911. I want somebody to see him so I can come get him. I've had people ask me about his name. Well, Sebastian stands for revered. Drake has always been, he's my little dragon. My dad's name is Wayne. That's where that came from. But he's always been my revered little dragon. His Aunt Sharon, may she rest in peace, she called him Drake. That's all she ever called him. And it's just, I gave him his name, and I just hope that he's still here. I see a lot of people talk about he's dead, and it's like, I'm going through enough shit. I don't need. Sorry, Tony. I'm going through enough stuff that it's horrible. I sit there and people are like, I think he's deceased, and it's like, how can you say that? There's no evidence that he's deceased. There's no evidence at all. Putting that in the air is just wishing horrible things on a child that is missing. And if you think that, you're not looking for it. If you think that he is deceased, you're not out there looking. When a group of kids walk by, you're not looking to see if one of them is Sebastian. You're not actually paying attention to the children to see if Sebastian is one of them, because you already have it in your mind that he's not here. Well, I know he's not here in my house, but damn it, I believe that he's still alive, and I will keep the faith that he is until proven otherwise, because my son deserves that. He deserves even more than that. And it really just, so many negative people out just really.
Seth, you made the comment that that there's no evidence at all that he's deceased, and that is 100% accurate. There is zero evidence that he's deceased. But what do you say to these people that we keep hearing over and over again that say, well, I don't know why people are blaming this person or that person or whatever. There's absolutely no evidence at all in any way, shape, or form. What do you say to that? From what you know and what you've seen and what you can talk about, what do you say to the people that say that, well, there's just, by golly, there's no evidence?
Lack of evidence is evidence in itself. I see where particular people are guilty of abuse, negligence. My son's not here because they weren't doing their job as a parent. They don't deserve children. And unfortunately, one of those is my ex. I don't know what happened to her. She was not always like that.
Okay, guys. So that's where I was referring to earlier about how, Seth says that Katie wasn't always like this. That you could see that he was hurt and sad there, and just saying that he does believe that they are guilty of abuse and negligence, and I do agree with that. And let's see. Tony says that he believes that Sebastian tried reaching out for help, and I do agree with that. I think that's very apparent to all of us that he was reaching out for help, but he just simply couldn't get the kind of help that he needed. Seth said that he should have recognized it, and I think that's very relatable to a lot of us, right? Because as parents, we think that we should be on top of everything all the time, and we really try our damnedest to be that way, but it's not always possible, especially when we are dealing with a blended family situation where our kids are not at our home all the time with us. They may be introduced to, like in Sebastian's case, step family, and sometimes that can be a positive, and then other times it can be a negative. And so I think we can all agree that it was a very negative thing for Sebastian because of the way that he was mistreated by the Foot clan. And Seth said that he should have recognized it, but he didn't. Again, I just want to say that there are always things in our kids' lives that they're not always going to be 100% honest with us about. So that is just, to me, more typical than not. And I hope that Seth would give himself some grace that he greatly, greatly, greatly deserves. I'm praying for that for him specifically. Hindsight's always more perfect vision, right? Because we can look back on situations knowing what we know now and look back and say, oh, wow, okay, I didn't see that back then, or I didn't recognize this, or maybe I overlooked this, or hey, maybe I did a good job here and I'm glad I did that. You know what I mean? So it can always go both ways. But I think what he's doing is harnessing the energy that he would put into feeling this obviously like a guilt that any parent would feel. Any of us would feel this way. It's very relatable. But he's using that. He's advocating. He's doing interviews. He's using his channel. He says that the last time that he spoke with Sebastian was the Thursday before he went missing, and that he told Sebastian that he loves him. And he says, and I'm going to quote him. He says, quote, "He knows because I tell him," end quote. And he also talks about how Sebastian is his revered little dragon. And so that's why we have our dragon up there tonight for Sebastian and his dad, to show love and support. Wayne is his dad's middle name. And so Sebastian is revered, dragon, Drake, and then Wayne. And we heard that on the Lore Lodge. And we've heard that before. It just goes to show what kind of care and thought went into even naming his son, right? It was something that he wanted to be special, and he made sure of that. And I think Sebastian is fierce, just like a dragon. And he says that there's too many negative people out there and that there's no evidence that Sebastian is no longer with us. And so he wants us to keep the faith. And that's another thing that Seth has been saying from day one, is that, you know, he wants us to keep the faith. He wants us to stay positive and hopeful. And I think that is a strong message that, you know, is much needed. And then also, he says, which we talked about this before, and I always use the steering wheel analogy, but no evidence or a lack of evidence is still evidence. So, like, for example, hey Vic, thank you for hitting that like. So, for example, if the police were to do a test for fingerprints in my vehicle, and there were no fingerprints at all, they might be suspicious of me a little bit because of the fact that there should be at least my fingerprints on the vehicle, right? So just that sort of thing, even though, and I think that's why it's very misleading and confusing, and I don't think that maybe Sheriff Craddock knows how to articulate himself very well. I'm not saying he's not smart. He's very educated. It's not that, but I just don't think that he's articulating well when he says that there's no evidence, because I do believe there is evidence. And I also believe what Seth is saying here about if there's no evidence or a lack of evidence, that means that somebody's trying to cover something up. Or that could be taken as some really great evidence. You know what I mean? So Scranton says, oh, who said earlier that the TB had something in the garage? What did he have in the garage? I don't know, but I heard he had some things he wasn't supposed to have in the garage. So who knows? With those folks, we don't. Who knows? You know, he could have had a whole bunch of stuff in there that he shouldn't have had. He obviously keeps a baseball bat at the door. You know, just in case somebody he wronged probably comes over trying to look for him, in my opinion, allegedly. Yeah, he is. He is, Sharon. All of that. Yes. Yeah, and it very much piqued my curiosity. I'm thinking that nowadays he might be regretting his initial observations and initial handling of the case. I would hope so. Because, you know, if you're in a position like a sheriff, you should have that level of introspection, you know, and you should have that level of like owning it, like, hey, you know, I did make a mistake and I should have done better and I will next time, type of a thing. And I'm going to go ahead and play this next clip for us, you guys.
Seth, a little more specifically, we're obviously not going to talk about anything we can't talk about. But you know the contrary. You know there's a mountain of evidence, correct?
Yes.
And you know that all the people that make it seem like that Sumner County just has nothing and that they don't have a clue and there's just, you know, it's just, he disappeared like a unicorn, poof. None of that's true, correct?
That's correct. Children don't just disappear.
Sumner County hasn't been fooled here, have they?
No, they haven't. They have not. I'm communicating with them almost every day. And obviously, from my understanding, she had her attorneys at her interview I don't have attorneys sitting here telling me how to answer questions. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and say that they don't know what's going on or that they do know what's going on. I just know that they are working this case to bring my son home. And they are working it. And they have information.
If I can jump in really quick.
Sure.
I saw
I need to blow my nose.
that I was, well, I actually not just an interview, multiple interviews on a local station, I'll just say. I have never seen anything so misleading in many investigations. For those of you who may not have watched it, it was unbelievable.
Nick Barris, Channel 5?
No, it was,
okay.
And I won't even say the channel, but they literally had on the Proudfoot's paid private investigator, who, in my opinion, and this isn't about him, it's about the misleading information that was broadcast. It was shocking to me about
the video.
The shadowy figure, and this could really mean something. This could turn the case around, and then
whatever actually happened to good journalism.
So many have reached out to say that is absolutely no. It is not evidence of somebody who took Sebastian. And actually, that PI got on television and said that they were trying to figure out whether that could be Sebastian. Did you hear that?
Could be the break in the case.
Break it, but not just a break in the case, like somebody taking Sebastian, but that could be him, like walking or whatever. That could be him. Most misleading thing I have seen in this case, and it's wrong, and just bad. So I wanted to touch on that because I really hope they retract that. I hope they come out and they say we've learned more information, even after they received a statement from Craddock, who is the sheriff now. He wasn't before, for those who don't know, but he's always been assigned this case, and now he's the sheriff, but he's still the main guy for Sumner County. And Sumner County is still the main venue holder, right? They're still the lead. He came out and told them, no, we have analyzed that. We had it within the first 72 hours. That person, it's not involved. It is not evidentiary in this case. And they came back even so and went to a clip of the Proudfoots. And then they responded, well, no matter what they say, we still think it could be a break in the case. Until they prove to us it's not, we still think it could be. Is this some sort of distraction? Do I have some
yes.
to throw to say, look over there? Is that what that is? Look over here.
It's what it seems to me.
Because that whole piece was so misleading and it was wrong. And so I'm sorry. I had to jump on that because that doesn't help find Sebastian when wrong information is being put forward as legitimate. There could be nothing further from being legitimate than that.
What gets me really about that so-called PI is the fact that he spends more time on social media putting out false information that does not help locate or find Sebastian. While I have PIs that you won't find them on social media. You won't find my PIs on social media because they understand the private part. They also understand that my private eyes are in communication with a CSO. Anything that comes in through Dog and Nick's team that comes into us goes to my PI. My PI goes and filters it through all the others that we've already received tips to make sure we're not getting duplicate tips, and then turns around and feeds it to SCSO and feeds it to me and my team, and then we track down rabbit holes. That is the whole point of having a private investigator, is to go through all the tips, make sure which ones are valid, and track them down.
And I can tell you that we love our PI dearly, but if they got on social media and attacked the mother, regardless of how we feel about her, it would be the last day she worked for us, period.
Yeah, exactly right. It serves no purpose. I understand putting forth facts, and we've talked a lot, and I know I've talked a lot about the abuse because I'm appalled. And I hope when Sebastian is found, that is looked at very closely and reconsidered in terms of the ability for those parents to be around Sebastian without being monitored. I mean, that's my main point of that. It was an abusive environment, and he should never be allowed to return to that. In my opinion, at least without people watching, having somebody there. I wanted to.
When I find him, he won't be going back. He'll be over my dead body.
Well, you have a lot of information now to work with, and so the courts are going to look at this, I think, a lot more closely now. That all this new information has come out, and the fact that it's being spotlighted. I mean, how many cases go on forever and ever and ever? And, the Department of Child Services, each state, they're called something different, but CPS.
Wait, here's something like when I requested those records and they told me I had to have an attorney request those records. Because I went online, submitted the request, and then they told me I needed to have an attorney. But I did that on a Wednesday, and on a Friday, they terminated the lady on the on the DCS reports. What kind of So that she that she did wrong, so you terminate her. So what? I mean, if that doesn't scream, we didn't do our job, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I mean, there's just huge department issues in DCS across the nation. We've seen it in multiple cases. Look at Harmony Montgomery, dead for years and nobody knew it. They were still paying checks out. But I'm not trying to detract. I'm just trying to say in this case will put a spotlight not only on that issue now, but if he's found, spotlight there. And I think it will help make sure that he's in a healthy environment if he's found, Seth. And I think we can all look forward to that. I wanted to touch base, if you guys don't mind, on some of the things said in another interview on another station. And I wanted to focus in on this criminal matter, whether this is a criminal matter or whether it's not a criminal matter. This is a no-brainer. It really is. First of all, the minute you say it's an Amber Alert, that innately means that he was taken. Now, whether that
I have one question for that.
Yeah.
You're ex-FBI, all right?
Retired.
I'm sorry, retired.
No problem. It's like a Marine, right? No ex-Marines.
Once a jarhead, always a jarhead. Semper Fi. You're a retired FBI. Explain the card team.
Yes, the card team. This is a great team. They actually come together. They're FBI agents, only FBI agents, and they report pretty much immediately upon request. So the minute a local department calls them, they go on scene and immediately help guide local law enforcement in missing children cases. And they're amazing. They usually lead the interviews. They lead what should happen, and they're very on scene and on hands. The best thing is when they're contacted within hours, because they deploy and dispatch and go there, and they have all these resources. And the biggest thing they have, Seth, is this is what they do.
Okay, guys, so we heard some good news and some really shocking news in those two clips. So I just kind of wanted to play them through. So going back, Seth says there is a mountain of evidence that Sumner County Sheriff's Office has. And anyone who says that they don't have any evidence, that it's not true. And that Sumner County Sheriff's Office has not been fooled in this situation, and that they are in daily communications with Seth. Seth also mentions the fact that he does not have an attorney present with him, but Katie did at her interview. And I think that's very telling. I think that shows that she's covering her behind. We also go to Jen, who says there's been some misleading information coming out in the investigation, and that is due to SF Investigates, the private eye for the Foot Clan. So Sumner County sheriffs are still in the lead, right? And we've talked about that here. Kind of like a vampire, they have to invite the other agencies in. If they don't invite them, they're not allowed to come into it. So Sumner County is still the acting office on this case. And they talk about the distractions. I think it's an outright lie, because they knew and they received this. And I'm just going to pop this up really quick. Sheriff Craddock's statement. But that they still are pushing this narrative, this false narrative. So it would be a lie, right? And it's wrong. It's a definite distraction. It's like, don't look over here, look over here. And we're gonna, nana boo boo. We're gonna say that it could be a break, and we're gonna get everybody's upset, and they want to argue back and forth. It's just really to start an argument. In my opinion, they think it's a game. Chris and Katie think this is a game, in my opinion. And so does their PI, because the more of a game and the more hoopla he puts on and the bigger show that he puts on, the more publicity he gets. So he's just happy, sitting pretty, throwing distractions, lies, misinformation, very, very wrong. And it's all to play a game with the public, because they want to bait us into debating something that is just, it is what it is, right? Sheriff Craddock said, nope, nothing. 72 hours, we had that. We took care of it. We know that it's nothing. It's nothing. So why keep pushing it if you know it's nothing? That doesn't help their son's case. So they look horrible. So, I'd probably have a lawyer too. And the PI also is putting out false information that's not helping with the investigation. And let's see, what else did I put here? Oh, Seth kind of goes over what his PIs are doing to help, right? So his PIs are in contact with Sumner County Sheriff's Office, which we know by Steve Fisher's own omission that he's saying that he does not talk to them, but Seth's PIs do. So Seth's PIs will get a lead or a tip, and they will filter it through and make sure it's not a duplicate tip or anything like that. They follow it down, right? And then they feed over to Sumner County Sheriff's Office, which is fantastic. So Seth and his team are working like that. They're working closely with law enforcement, whereas Chris and Katie's team is not, and also they've lawyered up. So next thing is that the PI is always on social media and kind of sending out attacks and threats and things on social media. He is very there's a lot of things that he posts on X. I try not to even listen to not a one thing he says. But, you know, they also go on to say that their PI would not have a position on their team if their PI went on social media and attacked KK. Because we can't have that, right? We can't have that. It's not necessary. It's not helpful. But they perpetuate it. And so with them perpetuating all of this nonsense, it's a big distraction. Now facts are different, and Jen does kind of pipe in and say, well, you know, if we're stating facts, that's different. And I agree with her. You know, if there's certain things that it is just what it is, you know, there's nothing that we can do to really change the truth. I mean, yes, it's going to be open to perception. Maybe somebody might see it one way and another person might see it another way. However, it's different than lying, and it's different by than spreading misinformation, in my opinion. And so I think that we were all appalled by the abuse that Sebastian endured, and Jen just kind of echoes that. She also, oh, excuse me, no, Seth goes into a records request. Now, this is extremely disturbing, and it's just the way our system works. And I think that when we look at a case like Sebastian's, we have to remember that these things happen more often than we like to think they do. It could definitely happen to us at any time. And when it happens to someone else, we can't allow it, because that means that we're allowing that to happen to us, right? Now, he had to get he filled out an application request for these records from CPS. They sent him back a letter or a reply to his request stating that he must have an attorney. He did this on a Wednesday, and then on Friday, the woman who was on the CPS reports was terminated by CPS. Terminated by her. Now, Jen brings up Harmony Montgomery, little Harmony Montgomery, that was put in the care of her father, Adam, and he took her life for having accidents in the back of a car that they were living out of. She was just a little bitty, little tiny girl, and he beat her to death. And CPS handed her over on a silver platter. Now, with that being said, there's so many children that get failed by the system over and over and over again. Some of them survive it. Some of them have many, many issues because of it. Some of them go missing, and we don't see them for a year, no trace of them. This is why it's so important for us to re-examine what is going on in a system that just takes these kids, but they're not doing any better, are they? Or a system that leaves the kids in a situation like this where they're being severely abused and neglected. And I don't care how much money they have. I don't care how much food they have in their house. That doesn't have nothing to do with it. What it is what these children are going through in these toxic environments. They go into the fact that this is a criminal investigation, and here's why. There was an Amber Alert issued. And so whenever there's an Amber Alert issued, that means that there is a possible, probable abduction involved, right? And so when that Amber Alert went out, criminal. Whatever happened to Sebastian, in my opinion, criminal. Even Brandon Carter said this was a criminal investigation. So, I mean, I'm not going to play semantics. I'm not going to argue back and forth with people. They are entitled to believe what they want to believe. I'm just here to tell you that I believe this is a criminal investigation, and there's many, many reasons why. The sheriff's office knows about all of this, no doubt in my mind. And if they're on the side of the law, and we really don't have a choice whether to believe otherwise at this point, but if they're on the side of the law, then all of these offenses are criminal. right? What Sebastian went through was criminal. So you bet your sweet ass, whatever Chris likes to say, you bet your sweet ass, it's criminal. They just don't want that, because all of the crap that they're pushing, that means that they have to get up here and admit that they're wrong. And they're never going to do that, by the way. But they don't want to look stupid. So they're just trying to save face, in my opinion. Jen talks about the CART team, which is the child abduction reaction team, and that they are usually deployed when asked to assist with cases where children have been abducted, right? And so I could tell Seth is just probably chomping at the bit over there, like, why haven't they reacted? You know, and it's sad because you know, there's just certain things that have to be in order for them to assist. And without going too far into that, they have to be asked by the authorities who have the jurisdiction, which would be Sumner County Sheriff's Office. So, you know, with that being said, it's just one of those things where, again, this is why kids are falling through the cracks of this broken system. And I'm not trying to bash anybody, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And I don't feel sorry for not a one of them. I feel sorry for the children that have been forgotten about, that have been left in situations where they had no other choice. I don't care about hurting CPS's feelings, about hurting the sheriff's office feelings. I don't care about that. We're not talking about them. We're talking about children who were failed by the system. And prove me wrong. Okay, guys, we'll watch this next clip.
Like, as an example, I did SWAT. That's what I did, you know, as my extracurricular activity after I did my cases, or, you know, that's how it works in the Bureau. You have these extracurricular. CARD team members have full-time agent jobs putting bad guys in jail. But when the bell rings, that's what we call it. When the bell rings, that means you're in the middle of a, you know, tacos with the family. You leave and you respond and you deploy to that situation. And so that's what the CARD team does. And they are experts in the missing child realm.
No. Can you explain the acronym, Jen, to the public?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that of me. I'm so sorry. I'm going to pull it up. I don't want to get it wrong. It is the child, sorry. Child Abduction Response Team. So
here's my one question.
Response team. And I apologize. Go ahead.
No problem. Why would the CARD team not be activated?
Well, this is the problem. Like with all cases that have local venue, in other words, doesn't involve crossing state lines. It's not an actual kidnapping case. It doesn't have terrorism. It doesn't happen aboard a plane, a train, or a boat, reservation, government installation. The venue lies with the local authorities, Seth. And when the venue lies with the local authorities, it's up to the local authorities to activate and to make that phone call. And a lot of times, sometimes that happens because you have to have a great relationship with the FBI and vice versa. You know, are those what we call SRAs? Are those agents going out and making contact with the locals so that when something like this happens, the locals want to call? They're like, I mean, because they have coffee together and they lunch together and they work on cases together. So it's, hey, Tom, oh my gosh, I've got a missing child. Can you get the CARD team out here? We need them. And so that's simply why.
So Jen, is it possible that, and I'm just trying to be fair, is it possible that because, and you and I have talked about how many of these autistic children that go missing and what the normal percentage is that are actually runaways, which is high. So we've got them treating this as a runaway situation for the first 72 hours. Could that have had something to do with not calling people in right away because they were working off that theory the first 3 days?
100%, but everybody has a different way they work cases. There are some people that are just so proactive, and I believe that's how it should always be. In other words, you should always treat a case as if there is foul play and work your way backwards from that. Until it can be proved it's not foul play, it's foul play. So that means you get a warrant for the house. That means you process. And it's difficult because a lot of these departments are so small, but that's why it's important to call in a CART team. The other thing is they are expert interviewers. They have seen hundreds of cases and interviewed parents and can get a really good feel. And they want to get that interview done ASAP. So not only the interview, but the polygraph. Everyone should have been polygraphed within the first 24 hours. Period. End of story.
I'm an attorney, but
What's up?
No, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, that's what needs to happen. So I think it seems to me and it reminds me so much, and people might not like it when I say this, so much of the Summer Wells case, right? The Summer Wells case where it wasn't treated like something had been wrong. And it was really handled in some ways quite similarly. And
yeah, I refuse to let my son become a Summer Wells.
Well, the good thing is everybody isn't going to let that happen, Seth. We're not going to let you down. We're going to keep his face and name out there.
Well,
similar.
The only thing I can say is Summer Wells really didn't have family fighting for her. And that's sad. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail for my son.
Agree. And that will be the difference maker. That will be the difference maker.
Poor little Summer Wells. Poor little Summer Wells. That is so sad. And I do agree with Seth here. The family wanted it to go cold, in my opinion, and they didn't want the truth to come out because they had something to do with it, unfortunately. And so, but Seth says that he refuses to let Sebastian's case turn into Summer's case, and I think that we all feel that way about Sebastian, and Jen assures him that that won't happen. I can see the level of frustration rising in Seth at this moment. And the reason being is because of some of the elements of law enforcement and the way the system works that we're going to discuss here briefly. So Jen talks about the CART team, the child abduction response team, experts on missing children. Seth interjects and says, why not? Why would they not be contacted? So hypothetically, he was saying, why would they not be contacted? Right. And she says, because it's of local venue. So local venue, again, Sumner County Sheriff's Office has to make that call, right? Because the venue, which would be Sebastian's case in this context, lies locally with Sumner County Sheriff's Office. They must be the ones to activate and make the call to the CART team, the child abduction response team. Jen goes into one of the caveats of, in my opinion, a good old boy system and how it's run. They have to have a great relationship. There needs to be a great relationship between the agents making contact with locals. And I believe that that is absolutely not only insane, but it's awful. And I wrote down awful and underlined it twice, because here's the thing. All of us would hope that just in the spirit and the will for justice that any of our children that are out there missing, it wouldn't take somebody for me to have breakfast with them or coffee with them or lunch with them or invite them over for a barbecue for them to help me when my child is missing. I mean, I'm at a loss. I really am. I appreciate the candid response, but I mean, Jen goes into foul play. So whenever a case is being worked from day one, it should be looked at as, in a missing child's case, as foul play, and then you work your way backwards from that. I think that sounds very reasonable. Without any training, without any knowledge, without anything, I think that that's the very least we can do when a child goes missing. A warrant needs to be put in place. The home needs to be processed as soon as possible. Polygraphs need to be given in the first 24 hours. If that had been done in this case, I think that we would have seen a lot different results. It would have been a better outcome. Hey, Joseph Rapp, good to see you. Sammy, good to see you. So I could feel the tension rising in Seth after he asked this question and the answer that he received, because it made my blood boil just thinking about how this whole process needs to happen of knowing somebody or going out for coffee and saying, hey, Joe, no, that's not good enough for our kids. It's not good enough for anybody. And I honestly, I'm not accepting that. I cannot accept that. And I also came to the conclusion that based on everything that was said here, that the crime scene that they treated like a runaway should never have been done. And I've said that many, many times here, and I truly believe that, and I stand on it, because if they would have done what they were supposed to have done to begin with, we would not be here today. And that is, open to interpretation. That is my opinion. However, it is based on the fact that Sebastian's case was treated as if he walked off, and it has been treated like that, I think, until this day. But I know that it was said multiple times, we're operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. Not good enough. Not good enough.
So
Seth,
answered the question.
No, you did, Jen. Thank you for that. So Seth, before you get into sharing what you're going to share tonight, I'm assuming you're still doing that, correct?
Yeah, people have wanted to hear Sebastian. I don't have anything with him being 15. When me and Katie separated during the divorce, Sebastian would call my phone, and I wouldn't always answer my phone because sometimes when you're at work, you can't answer your phone at times, or if I was asleep, I wouldn't hear it ring. And he would leave me voicemails, and I've got several voicemails. I've probably got like 8 or 9. And I just never deleted his voicemails because I didn't see the point of deleting them. And now I'm thankful I didn't, because I still get to hear him. I get to hear Sebastian before his life took a turn and bad things started happening to him. And I'm going to share a couple of those with Sebastian's Army. You were asking a question though, Tony.
Well, while you're getting that together, before you play those, it's certainly not a tit for tat, but there was a great question that was asked the other night in Katie's interview that. So I want to ask you, what do you miss most about Sebastian?
Everything. I miss him asking me questions. I miss him taking a shower until there's no more hot water. The bathroom is so steamed up, and then all of a sudden like the water stops, and I'm like, well, how long is he going to be in the bathroom? I only have one bathroom, so one bathroom. You need to hurry up, because if I got to use the bathroom, you need to hurry up. And walking in, and he's literally curled up on the floor. The bathroom is all steamed up. He's laying on a towel, and he's covered up with another towel, and he's just sitting there. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he was like, it's warm in here. And I'm like, well, it's warm out there too. He was like, yeah, but it's warm in here.
He made a sauna.
It's a sauna. Really. I mean, walk in, you can see the moisture dripping off the walls and stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, are you done? Because I got to use the bathroom. He was like, I guess. I mean, I miss everything about him. I miss the attitude he would give me. I'd give him shit too. But, that's father and son relationship. I miss taking him to go fishing, and I would have to bait us up because the worm is icky and it's bleeding, and it's like, well, son, it's a living thing. You have to put it on the hook. I miss everything. I miss our late night trips or early morning trips to go to Waffle House. I mean, I miss taking him to go play Magic. Play D&D. I miss all the things that would light him up. It's just, my life is nothing. When you sit there and you're right, Tony, I only had him for 2 or 3 days. I didn't live. I worked. I worked until I got him on the weekends. When I got him on the weekends, that's when I got to live. The rest of the time, it was just work, make money, so that way when I had him, we could do whatever he wanted to do. I remember at one point in time, I gave him money, and then I had to take him back to there, and they were at Red Lobster eating dinner, and that's where I was supposed to drop him off. And I dropped him off. And then all of a sudden, like 45 minutes later, I get a phone call from Chris. Did you give Sebastian money? And I'm like, yeah. Well, are you sure you gave him money? Yeah. I gave him $40, $20, $40. I just gave him some money. Why wouldn't I? If there's something he wants, why wouldn't he be able to get it?
Isn't that terrible that Chris would call 45 minutes after Sebastian gets dropped off and ask his father if he gave him any money and why? I would really struggle with that. I can't lie. I would have been like, why are you calling me? And it's none of your business. Hey, momming it up. Good to see you. Guys, I heard there was like some wimpy person in here talking smack in the chat. Could you guys just block that person, please? I can't see too far up in the chat, but I heard there's like Wimpy, I think their name is Wimp or something like that. Wimpy's having a bad night. Wimpy needs to go. Well, they can't stay here. We're not putting those people in timeout. Either way. But So Seth is going to share some voicemails, guys. They're really heartbreaking, and I think the most heartbreaking thing about the voicemails is what Seth said here before his life. That these are voicemails of Sebastian that he left for his dad before his life took a turn for the worst and bad things started happening to him, right? So these are cherished memories that he decided to share with us tonight. And I'm grateful for that. He said one of his favorite memories of Sebastian was when he would like to turn the bathroom into a sauna. Again, I think that's really smart and also funny, because I could just picture him in there like, I'm warm. Too bad if you have to use the bathroom, and we all know if you only have one bathroom that that tends to happen. You're like, okay, come on, hurry up, I gotta go, and the other person might be asking you, hurry up, I gotta go, or really, I was just about to get in there and get ready, and you're taking a shower right now, type of a thing. So just those little things that are special, and those are only things that they would know, right? And so how sweet of Seth to share that. Sebastian coming over for visits. Seth said that is the only time that he had a chance to live. And then he goes into the nasty foot. Oh, did it go mute? Somebody must have already handled Wimpy. I don't see them. Star, get Wimpy. Get Wimpy, get Wimpy. Lori says I don't see Wimpy. Poor Wimpy. I do feel bad for people like that. Because maybe they're just trying to get attention in a chat and like they'll do anything to get it or something. I don't know. Bless Wimpy's heart. Wimpy, bless your heart. Wimpy. Joseph. Poor Wimpy, he kicked the bucket. Oh no. I'm gonna just search for the other channel coming up. It's called Wispy. Oh, okay. Momming it up. I'm over here. Goodness sakes. Okay, sorry, Wimpy. I mean Wispy. Oh, good Lord. Star says, I go to the bathroom, I pause to eat food, and chaos breaks loose. You're supposed to be paying attention. Oh, no. Oh, gosh. This is a hard one, guys. At least Wimpy came in and made us laugh. That's good. Thanks, Wimpy. Oh, let's see. Oh, okay. When I just searched. Oh. People can just be so... No, Wimpy. Scram. I must have read the text too fast. Oh, goodness. Oh, boy. What are we going to do? Wimpy or Wimpy? What are we going to do with these folks? Okay. All right, guys. So I have 2 more clips, but we'll just go ahead and watch those through.
Here, he's got a wallet. It's got his ID. It's got his fishing license. It's got his bank card, everything here. So why wouldn't I give him money so that way when he's not here, if he wants something at school, because he had told me he wanted stuff from school, and I'm like, hey, here's some money. If you want to get something from school, that's fine. Just don't spend it all on candy, knowing full well he's probably going to spend it all on candy. But calls me up like he's not supposed to have money. Or, yeah, that's I see it in chat. He was like, oh, just making sure he didn't, steal money from you. I wouldn't have given a rat's. There's money laying around on my table. There's money there's money sitting here on my desk. I'm the only one that lives here. When Sebastian's here, anything that is mine is his. As long as you don't go into my wallet and take it. I mean, there are times that I would literally tell him, why don't you clean the house? Well, I don't want to. Make you a deal. You clean the house, you can have whatever money you find. Oh, okay. and he would clean the house. You know, it's not that he's going to do, a perfect job, but he's going to pick things up and he's going to organize it and he's going to ask me where things go. And so we're going to communicate and he's going to learn some organizational skills. And then he would find money and he would be like, I found $5. Okay. What are you going to do with it? Put it in my wallet. Sounds good. Put it in your wallet. I've got a jar. You find change. Put change. You find change around the house. Put it in the thing. He would do that. Then we would sit there, and on days we would pour it all out on the table. And I've got change rollers. So we'd sit there and count out the change. And then we'd pack up rolls, 50 cents for the pennies, $10 for the quarters, $5 for dimes, $2 for nickels. And I mean, it all adds up to life skills.
Seth, I have a question for you. Did you, not to bring this down, because those are all such beautiful things, and we so often take all that for granted, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly with our kiddos that we get to enjoy daily. But I want to ask a question. Did you know, before all of this started, did you know about Sebastian and his responsibilities to clean up the room, and that he didn't clean up the room and he would have his things taken, and then he didn't clean up the room again correctly or what was expected, and that Chris Proudfoot took everything, put it in a box and threw it away, got rid of it? Did you know anything about that?
At one point in time, it was brought up to me, and it was brought up to me. I have a tub of Sebastian's toys, but Sebastian loses pieces of toys. So he's got an arm of a figurine in the thing, or he's got, he's got the zip cord for the Spider-Man, vehicle. And it's like, he wasn't listening, so I took away some of his toys. Okay. Don't touch any of the stuff that I bought him. If I bought it for him, it's not your place to take it. Don't take it away. Don't throw it away. If you don't want it there anymore, you let me know. But every time I went over there, Sebastian had a rack with all of his toys, so I could see all of his toys. I didn't know that they were throwing away toys because he wouldn't pick them.
Yeah, I was just curious.
If it's broken, then obviously if it's broken and can't be fixed, you should throw it away. And you should explain to Sebastian, hey, you broke it. It's no longer whole. I can't fix it. So now you have to throw it away. That's how you should communicate with him, so he knows that, hey, you take care of your stuff, and then you don't have to throw it away because it don't get broken. And that's
Okay, guys. So, I mean, just really normal, like things that all of us parents deal with. I saw some of your comments in there, like Star, the, the little, little Barbies, some of the Barbies don't have clothes. I used to cut my Barbie's hair, and so some of them were half bald. And then, you got the little shoes, the little pieces to everything. It's just like very normal, right? Very normal behavior out of a child, right? It's almost like they expected him not to act like a kid, which he was a kid. So, they went into some poor parenting on Chris and Katie's part, which we all know kind of about that. And then Seth was talking about the money that he had given Sebastian. He said, I gave him some extra money. And a lot of us divorced parents know this, right? You give your kids money, make sure they have it, right? Because especially when they're going back into an environment like the one Sebastian had to go into, you worry about them. And so, he was hoping he didn't spend it all on candy, but there was times where he was probably going to spend it all on candy. Normal, very normal. That's what all of us would have done when we were little, right? Because, that's what we like when we're kids. We're like, ooh, I can buy a bunch of candy with this, stuff like that, right? And but CP called and it was almost accusatory. Seth kind of goes into it where it was like he was saying that maybe Sebastian had stolen this money and he wasn't supposed to have it. Which again, I think it was probably Mr. Pissy Pants getting upset with Sebastian. Because Sebastian was like, well, I got money from my dad and I could buy whatever I want. And I'm sure he probably did. Do you blame him? Do you blame him for, kind of pulling that out and being like, hey, I got money. You told me no, but guess what? I looks like I could buy it myself. And good on him for doing it, because I mean, that's what we're teaching kids, when you give them money and they realize, okay, I can buy this for this much, or I can get this much, or I can get this, it's teaching them kind of the value of money, right? And it's life skills, like Seth was saying. Also, it gives them a little bit of freedom and independence, right? And we know that when people are control freaks, they don't like that very much. They don't want to deal with that. They want to be able to hold everything over their head, not giving them any type of freedom or independence. But on the other hand, Seth would let or allow. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. Because even little girls do this. We have our little purses, when you put your stuff in your purse. Well, he had a wallet, right, with his ID in there, and he had his fishing license. And those are good things to keep track of, right? Because those are things that you're going to have to keep track of the rest of your life, and make sure that you have your wallet and make sure that you have your money, because if you need money, or say you're out fishing and the game warden comes up and says, hey, I need to see your fishing license. Well, here you go, sir, and here's my ID, whatever, or ma'am. But again, it's just teaching him how to function, right? And independently. And that's one thing that I really can't wrap my mind around with KK. Chris, I kind of leave him out of the equation because he's just a stepdad and he was just a horrible person. He wasn't someone that taught Sebastian how to, be a man or anything like that. He's not trying to do that. Seth, on the other hand, is, in my opinion. This is your wallet. These are the items that you're responsible for. Here's your money. Understanding that you can save your change up and then roll it up and, take it. There's Coinstar. So just different things like that. It all adds up, and kind of showing him how to get by in life. I mean, I don't know about any of you, but there's been times in my life where I've had to use a Coinstar. There's been times where I've been like, oh, I got to roll these quarters up, or hey, I need laundry money, so here's quarters, right? So it's about life skills, really, at the end of the day. And not teaching the life skills is not doing any favors. Taking everything away from a child is not giving them any favors. And I'll never wrap my mind around the fact that KK, knowing that her son has different abilities, knowing that some of these things are going to be a little bit harder to grasp at first, that she wouldn't work with him towards that, and that's one thing they even told Holly Thompson in their first interview. They told them that Seth teaches Sebastian life skills, how to get, from one point to the other, familiar routes, things like that. We're going to go left. We're going to turn left here. Up here, we're going to go right. Those are things that we do for our kids. So that way, when we're not on the planet, because we are not guaranteed tomorrow, that we know that they can take care of themselves, right? That's the biggest thing, is for, especially for parents of children who have special needs, because they want them to be self-sufficient. They want them to be confident. They want them to know certain skills. So then that way, when they're not around, they'll still remember those skills, and it will help them through life. And I will never be able to understand a mother not wanting that. And I also don't understand a mother allowing her new husband to call her ex-husband and ask about money that was given to their child. That to me is like completely insane. Like I can't ever imagine being with somebody that would do that, but then also allowing it. Because right then and there, I'd be like, okay, this one's not your battle to fight, right? This is my kid. That's his dad. He gave him money, and it's none of your business. And it's not any of his business. He just likes to insert himself into the business and create issues and trouble where there is none. Yeah, Seth gave him money for the week till he sees him next time, or for the 2 weeks, because I guess he would be at, one weekend and then at mom's the next one. And so, yeah, maybe $20 a week. He wanted Sebastian to budget. I mean, it's just normal. That's all normal. Sebastian having, toys every which way, one arm of one figurine over here, one over here. God only knows what happened to the rest of the guy. That's normal. It's so weird, it's just, it just doesn't make any sense, and also I just really believe that it was a major control thing for Chris, because then he couldn't tell Sebastian no, or you're in trouble, or you can't have that, and Sebastian probably wouldn't buy it himself. So, there's that. But then let me just play this next one here, because we only have one more left, guys.
And I get it. Like, I mean, my mom, if I left my stuff on the floor, she'd pick it up and she'd take it, and I'd have to buy it back. 5 cents for this, 10 cents for that. But no one, I had never heard of a parent, and I'm talking about what we know about Chris Proudfoot now, of throwing away a child's things as a punishment, because that is so invasive and so...
It just means you don't own anything. It means you don't have anything, and therefore anything and everything can be taken away from you at any point in time for no reason at all. That is not how you build. That's not how you do structure for a child, whether they're autistic or not.
Well, and it's permanent, right? It's permanent damage. A parent may not look at it as damage, but those are the prized possessions of that child. So, if they're put up or you got to buy them back, then it's a life lesson. But when they go out with the trash, it's permanent, and there's no coming back from that. And, without being able to look at things through a child's eyes, I mean, it may seem like a plastic toy to a parent, but, that may be something that is like Linus's blanket for a child that, he's not happy without. So it just seems awfully permanent.
Well, to me, it shows, this is quite simply where I was going with this. It shows lack of empathy. And when I see lack of empathy in a parent toward a child, it just opens up possibilities. I'll leave it at that.
A lot of negative possibilities.
But let's hear Sebastian's voice. This is so cool that you kept these.
This one was May 16th, 2017. I don't know if you guys can hear this or not, so you'll have to let me know if you can.
So, just needed to call up.
Hold on.
Hi, Daddy. Sorry to too long. Please hold. I love you. Bye. Your dishwasher? It just started. Hi, Dad. I know this has been a family, but tomorrow's picture day. So could you send some decent clothes over to me so that I can wear the decent clothes and be handsome for my baby? So you we don't have decent clothes? Mom, what? Do you let me wear whatever I want to wear for picture day? Oh, clothes for picture day. Mom, okay. I need to wear decent clothes. I know this stuff. Will you please send decent clothes?
Thank you, Seth.
I'm sorry.
So his voice hadn't changed yet, or had it changed by the time he was 15?
It did. His voice started to change about 14 and a half years old.
Precious.
I can't do this anymore.
Bye, Seth. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your heart.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for sharing his voice. I'm sorry, Seth.
I just gotta find you. I gotta find you. I just gotta find you. I just gotta find myself. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, you all.
Good night.
Okay, guys. So, Sebastian's just so sweet, just so cute. His little voice, just so sweet. Telling his dad he loves him. Those were voicemails from around May 16th, 2027. And he's just as cute as he can be. He also was asking his dad for clothes for picture day. So he says, Dad, picture day is tomorrow. Could you send me some decent clothes so I could look handsome for picture day? I think he'd look handsome no matter what he wore. And then Jen asked about the fact that Sebastian's voice changed, or excuse me, she asked when Sebastian's voice changed, and Seth said when he was about 14 and a half, but he had to leave because it was just like too much for him. I'm sure it was so difficult to hear that and then publicly be up there listening to that with 3,000 people watching. He said he's just got to go find his son. He's just got to find his son, and that's what he was. That was his last thing he said. They talked again about the crazy punishments in the household, not structured, creating permanent damage. I do agree with Tony on that. There's no lessons learned. It's just very final, throwing all of your items away. Also, there's no coming back from that. You know what I mean? There's no coming back from taking his items and taking it and throwing them away. There's just no lessons learned. And then also going back to the way a child thinks of things, there might be some comfort items that were taken away from him, and that would create issues psychologically, with children, because in their mind's eye that might be a comfort item, something sentimental, and then you took and threw it away and it could be very traumatic. And I don't mean to be dramatic, but it can be, and it can cause psychological issues. One of the reasons why people hoard items is because of this very reason, that somebody took their items when they were little and took and threw them away, and created that kind of a trauma, right? And so one thing that Jen says that really bothers me too is she said there was a lack of empathy to the child from a parent. And she said that's very worrisome and concerning because it opens up the doorway to a lot of negative possibilities, especially when we're talking about the way, thanks guys for the green hearts, when we're thinking about the way that these children are feeling, when we're thinking about the way that Sebastian could feel, the way that he was treated could lead us to believe that there could have been more sinister things happening if there was just no empathy for him at all. C. Taylor says, I love how Sebastian asked him to bring the clothes over. Sounds like Sebastian knew he, thanks Machete and Robini, Lori. Sounds like Sebastian knew he could count on his dad when he says that. Yes, exactly. And, he knew that he can count on his dad. He knew that he could ask his dad to bring him some clothes. And, yeah, I agree with that, C. Taylor. It's, how do I put it? It's one of those things where he could rely on him, right? And he could feel comfortable asking him for something. Whenever, and I hate to bring a negative aspect of this phone call up, but if I didn't, then I wouldn't be doing Sebastian the justice that he deserves. And so I don't really care if this upsets anyone. When Katie was in the background and he said, Mom, and she said, what? Like she was annoyed by him, or like, she didn't want to be bothered with him. And it's just heartbreaking because of what we are seeing today. Yeah, she's just awful to him, Lori. Really. I mean, it's just. And then also, if Seth was such a bad father, then why was Sebastian asking him to bring him some school clothes for school picture day so he can look handsome for his pictures? If he's such a bad guy. Because last time I checked, bad dads don't do that. Bad dads don't even, aren't around for stuff like that. They're just not. It's just the way it is. Same thing goes for moms. And Barb says, Bob of Language Linguistics says Chris' treatment of Sebastian was sadistic. I believe that, Barb. I do. He wanted to control Sebastian. He didn't want to teach him. He didn't want to mentor him. He didn't want to coach him. He wanted to arguably torture him. In my opinion, it's that deep. It's just that deep. It's just so bad. Vic says, so true, Barb. And Star says, Barbaluga. I'm inclined to agree. Brenda gives the green hearts. Thank you. Barbaluba says, I can't say it today. I'm so sorry, Barb. Hey, Vic, good to see you, hon. And Pepper says, wow, heartbreaking. Many prayers are with Sebastian, Seth, and many people that have been affected by this case. Sebastian, justice for Sebastian. Thank you, Pepper. Thank you, Pepper. Lori. And Scranton says, on one hand, I love that he asked Seth for that, but on the other hand, why doesn't he have decent clothes at his mother's? I mean, a very valid question, Scranton. That's a super valid question. Especially when we think of moms, you know what I mean? Like, we're the ones that keep the clothes clean, right? We're the ones that say, no, don't play in those shoes. Put these ones on. Don't go out and play in that button-up shirt. Hold on, I got a t-shirt for you. Hold on, that sort of thing. I know it's very hard to imagine this. It's almost like, reverse. It's like reverse. And I don't mean to say that because I know we have great dads out there, right? And I love you guys all. The great dads out there, you're the ones that set a good example for other men, right? You're the ones doing right, and doing right by your kids, most importantly. But when it's a mom that's not doing it, it makes me really angry. And then, I'm not so nice with my words with her. Because again, these are things that she should already have prepared. And we can see that those are things that she didn't. Yeah, Lori, I do think that they looked at Sebastian like an inconvenience, just the way that she talked to him over the phone. I mean, that was back in 2017. So he was a little guy back then. And he just wanted to look handsome for his pictures. He just wanted to look handsome for his pictures. Hey, James Cooper, good to see you. Sunny Days says hearing her speak to Sebastian in that tone is awful. No child should be made to feel that they're a burden. No, they should never feel like they're a burden. Ever, never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever. And especially your own child, you should be happy to do that kind of stuff. You should be prepared. If he wants, and there's sometimes, maybe he wanted his dad, maybe there was a decent outfit. He said a decent clothes. Maybe there was a more decent outfit in his opinion at his dad's house that he wanted, and he wanted dad to bring it to him. Heck, maybe he just wanted to see his dad. These things, kids are funny. Like, they find a way, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. He just wanted to come over, have his dad come over too. So it's not always, maybe a bad thing, but in this case, unfortunately, I think that we do, our brains do go automatically there because of the situation, but maybe it was Sebastian's way of trying to get his dad to come by and bring him some clothes. But for a mom, just in my opinion, it just very much seems like, she should have had that ready. And Sunny Day says let's see. Scranton says because Chris threw them all out. Well, you never know, Lori. You never know. You never know. That was the way that he handled things. You know what I mean? Giving back his underpants. I mean, he needs those at both households. Hello, Chris. I hate to break it to you. It makes me want to go and take all his underpants, but I don't want to touch them. And James Cooper says when I buy him good clothes, that was planning on just throwing them away. Well, and that's another thing that you have to worry about when you're divorced and stuff like that, is sometimes the parents aren't gonna, good people, and you have to take the tags off of the clothes before you give them to them. Otherwise, they might try to take them back to the store and stuff like that. I actually dealt with that, so I understand. It's awful. Yeah, looking at Chris's eyes, no soul. I agree. Chris is about Chris. When Chris looks in the mirror, he doesn't see anything wrong with what he does. Aw. Love you too, Star. What did I do? What did you do? Sharon says, my partner now isn't any of my kids' dad, and he has raised my boys for 6 years, and I've known him for 45. Yeah, that's wonderful, Sharon. And that's the thing, it's really important to be cautious of who we bring our kids around, especially if we get any kind of inkling that they don't love our kids as much as we do. That's like, the biggest red flag we can ever get. You know what I mean? I know, Lori, I know. Man, poor Sebastian lived in a holy hell. James Cooper says, and I would love to see that this new video that just came out just helped my theory out, making it more possible. Which one is that, James? And Tony says, I think CP changed Katie. Yeah, Tony, I do too. He was jealous of her son, and she has no backbone. She allowed him to do this. She wasn't always like this to him. I believe that, because especially when we look at older pictures of Katie and Sebastian, she looks at him like an adoring mother. She does. You know, and I'm not afraid to say that. It's just the way that, you know, it's perceived. Star. I'm not touching his underwear, but I would love to go over there and steal every single one of them and let him walk around for a day without any skivvies on, see how he likes it. Make him wear freaking Depend. And Scranton says the next day was picture day, so no plan. Yeah, see, yes, that's very true. That is very true. I try to play devil's advocate, but y'all won't let me most of the time. Scranton says the next day was picture day, so no plan ahead for picture day. Yet KP wants to look like she was a good mother. She misses his smile, his laugh, smell weird. All these things she criticized him about. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's really hard for it. That is really, really, really hard for me as well. I agree. I agree. Um, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. And especially when we're led to believe by others that Seth was this like lazy kind of dad, that he didn't have, you know, he didn't have really much ever. After Chris came into the picture, Chris was his new dad. Bull crap. That's one thing that I could never ever stand, that they would play that game too. Because all that is hurtful towards the other parent. There's no reason to do that. And how dare you? Sebastian clearly loved his dad, clearly knew he could count on his dad. And honestly, there does seem to be an unhealthy level of jealousy about that. Of course, if we love our kids, we do want to be their favorite, you know, to a certain extent. That's healthy, right? We want to make them happy. We want to see them smile. We want to do for them as much as we can do for them, but we also want to show them how to do for themselves. Those are all things that is a, you know, well-balanced parenting kind of plan, if you will. But yeah, when we're led to believe that Seth wasn't doing anything and it was all Katie, and now this Chris came into the picture and oh, everything was great. No, it wasn't. Everything turned to shit when he came into the picture. Sebastian's cats were taken away from him. He didn't have his cats no more. He didn't have his life anymore. He didn't have his freedom anymore. And then his mom wasn't paying good enough attention to him and put him in a situation where he was SA'd in their home. So you tell me how that's a good parenting. It's not. It never is. And then you have Seth over here sad because he didn't protect him. But then you have Sebastian, who was protecting Seth. But Katie wants us to feel sorry for her? Not today, not tomorrow, and probably not ever. Lori says, my kids don't meet anyone unless I was dating them for at least a year and then only introduce them as a friend. Yeah, Lori, and those are the things that, you know, single parents do have to deal with, and it's tough. I'm not saying anybody's perfect way of doing it is right, but I think we can all agree that there are certain ways that we don't do it right, because it's just not good for the kids. Allowing all these different people around them is not a good thing. Allowing somebody who you know, likes you more than your kids around them is a very bad thing. And we see that because we know in true crime that we see this happening all the time. And it's just one of those red flags that we can't overlook, because if we do, then we're going to end up married to this person who doesn't love our children. And, you know, if they don't love us at a certain point, what's the next step? Who's the closest person to you, and who can they hurt to get to you? Is your children. So you have to think about those things. You have to think about the people that are around your kid and what they're going to be teaching your kid. Like Chris playing My Dingaling for Sebastian and thinking it was funny to teach him a smut song. especially after the trauma that he endured. It's just absolutely insane to me. Yes, that's wonderful, Sharon. That's wonderful. And those are the things that we have to look for, and we have to be careful about it. It's not just us looking out there. It's like we're looking for somebody who's going to fit with our kids too. We don't have that luxury to only think about ourselves in that situation. Detroit Rock City says, my ex-daughter-in-law threw away all my granddaughter's clothes and toys. Oh no, that is crazy. Oh my gosh, I'd come unglued. Oh gosh. And that's the thing too. It's like, that's why it's just so important, because look at how one toxic person could come into a household and totally throw everything off. Look at how one toxic person could come into a family and totally ruin everything. Yeah, Chris, that's you. Oh, the one SF's been holding on to. I don't know about that one as much, James. I don't. I wish I did. But I kind of don't pay attention to SF because I don't believe a whole lot of what he says or puts out there. And Sharon says, Barb, and he calls CPS to see them. And I said, do you know? Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't know you guys were. Mountain Mama says, I don't cry easily, but Seth crushed me. I cannot even begin to imagine the nightmare that Seth is having, or that Seth is living. No. And, and the thing is you can feel it to a certain extent. And there's certain things, like I said, that, when I saw his blood pressure rising, I think mine rose too, especially with some of the subject matter that we were discussing, or that they were discussing, and that we were here. It's nothing any child, we would never wish that on any child, let alone Sebastian, because we all care for him so much. And it could be, yes, absolutely, Lori. I think that Chris charmed the pants off of Katie. Absolutely, no doubt in my mind. And I'd love to be proven wrong on that one too, because no, I can see it. I can see it. Starflower says, I have a grabber you can borrow so you don't have to touch anything but those underwear in the trash run. Starflower, thank you. Oh, I do believe she could be possibly grieving after the fact. I'm not convinced, but sometimes you don't know what you've got until it's gone. That's a good point, Star. That is a really good point. I mean, how could you not miss Sebastian? He's the sun coming through the clouds, like Seth said. And Barb says, wants to just look like a good mom, not actually be one. Yeah, that's the thing. Katie likes that the portrayal of a good mother, and I'm so wholesome, and I'm in the Navy and everything like that. And but really on the inside, it is anything but that. Anything but. And it seems like she was very annoyed to be around Sebastian, very dismissive. Which I just don't understand, again, because just seeing his cute little smile and being just his cute little smile, and the way that he would make people laugh, just saying something so silly out of nowhere. How could you not laugh? How could that not bring you joy? And I think a lot of it had to do with that she was picking a man over her children, and she was too worried about what Chris was thinking about her rather than what her son was thinking about her. And we know that was just a colossal waste of time, because Chris is going to come and go. I mean, she's wife number 5, and I don't mean to be rude, but at the end of the day, she's wife 5. Who is she really to Chris? Nobody. He doesn't commit to nobody, and he certainly isn't there to be a good stepdad. He certainly is not. And C. Taylor says, LE has said it's a criminal investigation. They don't publicly announce that if they have nothing. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, again, nobody's going to be able to convince me of that unless there's like some, unless one of the top agencies comes out and says that, which I don't think they will. I think they're just they're holding close to the vest any information that they do have. Lori, both of my kids had the best of everything. Yeah, and that's what we want for our kids, right? We want better for them than we had. We want them to have the best of everything. We want to make them happy. We want to make them, able to take care of themselves, but we also want to be able to do for them as parents as much as we can. Just like Seth talking about how, he would think about how he'd only have 3 more years with Sebastian. Well, now he's down to 2. I think every one of us could say that we thought of that when our children were getting a little bit too old for us, right? Like 16 was the one where I was like, oh my gosh, only a couple more years. And, you realize that they're getting older and you don't have very much more time, right? You have to appreciate what you have. Like Star said, some people don't. KP is cunning. I agree with that 100%, Barb. Aw, Vic. Nothing, just coming to give you a big hug. Aw. Aw. Oh no, Star. Oh my gosh, really? I've seen videos of parents destroying their kids' gaming consoles, and I'm like, it must be nice to have 500 to throw away. Yeah, no kidding. Or just like, I don't know, that's that's a lot of rage. That's a lot of rage. Um, yeah, I can't see that. I think that's almost like cutting your own nose off to spite your face behavior, Yeah, love bombed until you're trapped. Yes, exactly, Detroit Rock City. I feel like he was doing that, like taking her to the faux restaurant and taking them out to deep sea fishing and taking them on hiking trips. And even Katie herself said none of that has transpired in Tennessee. They don't do that stuff anymore. That was all stuff they did in California. Well, of course, because he had you right where he wanted you when he moved you into his mommy's town. CP's underwear in the garbage disposal. That's what he gets, Um, that's what he gets. Unnamed True Crime Channel says, Lady Freedom, can you explain the trauma? I don't know how about it, and also how did it become public? Which bit? Sorry guys, I have itch on my back. Which bit of trauma? Because I mean, in this case, Sebastian has had a lot of trauma, and it began whenever he was living with his mom and stepdad, and an older boy essayed him in their home. And then it wasn't found out until a little while later, and Sebastian never got justice. So I don't know if you're talking about that bit or like all the CPS reports. There was like 286 counseling reports that were taken over a 52-week period, noting the abuse and quoting Sebastian's responses to it. So I'm just not sure which one you're referring to, because there's a lot in this case. It's not just one event or instance, it's many. And Scranton Strangler says, Lady Freedom, ew, that's a disturbing visual. CP charmed the pants off Katie. I know. All the it is, but I think he did. I really do. I think he was like, she thought she had gotten a good one, and unfortunately we think that way. I mean, I'm a woman just like she is. You think you have somebody good and you don't. You got a real shit bum. Now you're stuck with that shit bum because you said I do. And then, you can't be mad at your ex for that. You got to look within, Lori. Detroit Roxy says, my kids always say I'm their favorite until I tell them no. Exactly. And, there was some truth to what, Rob Beatty, there's some truth to what Chris was saying about, the whole thing that, sometimes kids are going to not like you as a parent, of course, because you tell them no. And then they're like, well, I'm going to go ask mom, or I'm going to go ask dad, and, and that sort of thing. But, but you know, it's a whole nother level when they don't want to be around you, period, you know? Yeah, there's just so much unnamed, and Chris and Katie don't tell the truth about anything. So all of the information about Sebastian's trauma has come out from Seth because he cares to advocate for his child and they do not. And C. Taylor says there's a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma. Saturn says James, he's in town, pretty sure about that. I do think so. I do think so. Yeah, it is. It's beyond sad, you know, because he wasn't getting the help that he needed for it. It was just all bad, all bad. Margaret. It's hard though, you know, it's hard. And it's like, you know, a lot of times you don't realize it until you're too far into it, you know, because all of a sudden they just start acting weird, you know, the mask drops, is one way that people say it. The mask falls off. And then you realize it's like, oh gosh. And Detroit Rock City says bad stuff was happening. In my opinion, Sebastian was scared. He wanted to tell, but it was hard because he still wanted to protect his mom, in my opinion. I believe that too, Detroit Rock City. I think a lot of it, there's a couple of different elements that I really believe in here. I believe that is one of them. I believe that he knew that his father would do something about it if he had the knowledge. And I also believe that he could have been threatened by CP not to tell. And I think that he was constantly in trouble and being, you know, controlled all the time. And that's another thing, you know, fear, just fear all the time. And that was another reason that he was having trouble with things that he knew how to do already. But he was having just so much trouble with that, right? And that's called regression. When that regression happens, it's because of a trauma response most of the time. There's other reasons for it, but in my opinion, it was fear-based. It was fear-based. Yeah, I know she could. She could defend herself, Lori. That is very true. That is very true. Good night, Barb. I'm gonna have to go to bed myself. I mean, this has really been so. It's just it drains you. You know, it drains you to hear this horrible stuff that happened to Sebastian, um, and really just hearing a father that has enough wherewithal to understand the gravity of the situation. Seth has been living this reality for the last year. I think Katie is finally waking up to it, according to her. But nevertheless, we see how painful this is for Seth, and all I can really offer is a prayer, and that I won't ever stop talking about Sebastian until he's found. And then once he's found, I will still talk about how he needs to get justice for what happened to him, because I do believe that would be warranted. You know, but the main goal is to find him, and the main goal is to not let the haters, you know, get under our skin, and not let them steal away time from Sebastian, because that's what they want. It's a game. It's a game to the Proudfoots. It's a game to the hate channels. They think it's funny. They think it's cute. They'll, oh, if people are over here watching my little shit show over here, then, you know, nobody's talking about the real issues that we should be talking about with Sebastian's case. No one's trying to find out what happened to him. Nobody's looking over here where they should be looking. They're looking over there because we forced them to, right? Because there's such a big shit show train wreck that we just can't keep our eyes off of it. And hey, Zoot and Boots, good to see you. Aw, thank you, Zoot and Boots. That's so sweet of you. You know, and it's just one of those things where we can't let them do it. Don't let them steal Sebastian's time, and just recognize that that's them and they're not worth his time, right? So you guys are all so fantastic. I love you all so much. James, I'm glad to see you in chat tonight. Vic, good to see you. And Zoot and Boots. If I didn't say hi to anybody, don't be mad at me. it's an emotional night. It's very emotional, and I appreciate all of you being here, supporting Seth and even going over to his channel and supporting him. That's what it's all about, right? We just got to stick together on this. We have to represent Sebastian in the best way that we can. And always just remember that everything that we do is reflection on Sebastian's army, and we're Sebastian strong. So they can't take that away from us ever. And there's certain ones of us that we will continue to do it, and it doesn't matter what. We're just going to continue on, because I would want somebody to do that if it was me and my child. And then also, Sebastian, he's more than special. And C. Taylor says, Ellie said publicly they have had the video that SF says, yep, is newly discovered, quote, it has been vetted by LE. Yeah, 72 hours after, Sebastian was reported missing, they had it. They know what it is. SF is just grasping as if he has discovered, insinuating LE missed it. They did do that, in my opinion. It was like, what? Like, you're kind of insulting law enforcement on that one, which I could understand if they were frustrated, like, oh, why hasn't this been released or whatever. But they're not. They're feigning all of that. That is all such a big fake, show. Mountain Mama says, please do not watch the recent live with Rev. I'm not going to, Mountain Mama. I'm not going to. I don't want to disparage anybody or what they do. But I can't watch it. I won't. No, 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 I can't. I won't do it. Thank you, Mountain Mama. I know, because I was thinking about it and then I was like, but I think it's better not to. Yeah, I just don't think, James, I just don't think that was anything. I think that was a person in the neighborhood, because there was also a person out walking the dog. And aw, thank you, Detroit Rock City. I appreciate you guys. You guys are what makes the channel great too, because it's all your comments in here, reading them and stuff. And then, you're always laughing at me when I do silly stuff, or when I call someone wimpy when they're supposed to be wispy. So, you guys are what make it great too. Thank you so much. And then also just keep praying for Sebastian, and hopefully we can figure something out here. I still think that guy's super creepy with the yellow jacket, and I'm gonna be the first to tell you that I was like, yellow jacket guy, he's just like a door dasher. Hey Gigi, good to see you. Thank you, Gigi. And so, but then now upon closer review, so let's just hope it's something. Margaret, they drive everybody crazy. I'm like, it was awfully quiet for a while there. I'm sure LE knows exactly who that person is. I think so too, Lori. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And they're, I mean, we got to give them a certain level of that, we got to give them that, right? Give them that much. They had to have known. And if SF has like 100 hours of footage, then they have to have more than that, because people were turning it into them and things like that. I really do believe that the people in Sumner County want Sebastian to be found. I'm sure they're living in a very tense situation, even though that maybe they're not directly affected by it, but it's really something that is, I mean, it's like, it's scary for your neighborhood, right? It's scary for your town, especially if you've lived there your whole life or something like that, or most of your life. You're like, what is going on in my town? So I understand that. Oh, Lori. Thank you, Lori. That's so sweet of you. Aw. Goodness. You guys are awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, let's all say prayers for Sebastian, and thanks so much for being here. I love you all. Thank you. Thanks, Billy B. Thank you, Unnamed. Thank you, C. Taylor.